Hey everyone, this is me Avidivedi, and I would love to introduce you guys to virtual reality and augmented reality world. Uh, I guess let's wait for a second to for everybody to join in the room, and would love to invite you on the guest panel, and would love to talk to you about your experiences about virtual reality and augmented reality. I'm someone who's working in the industry for past 8 years and would love to share some of the experiences. Would love to talk about some of the brilliant use cases, some great entrepreneurs who are working with virtual reality and augmented reality from India and around the world. Uh, so, if you have any questions, if you are a student or someone who's starting in virtual reality or augmented reality, this session is going to be really interesting for you. And I would love to invite you guys. And yeah, really, uh, I'm going to enjoy listening to your experiences. So, Rebecca is here. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey guys, it's really early here in America. Well, it's actually like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm just really interested in hearing what you guys have to say. Love being a part of your rooms. I always find so much insight, so I'm kind of here to listen as well. Thank you.
Awesome, Rebecca. We will come to you. So let me first initiate the room, and then I'll come to you, and we'll listen to you as well because I know the kind of work
Great.
you do in XR. Would love to talk to you about your work as well. So let's come to the conversation where my intention is to introduce you guys to virtual reality and augmented reality, and that's why I create these kind of rooms, sort of 2 times a week or something. So if you guys have any questions regarding virtual reality or augmented reality, you want to know something, you want to ask something, please come up on stage. We're gonna have a healthy conversation and nobody's judging you. You can share your experiences, good or bad. You can ask your questions, whatever about the industry. And if you want to know the big players in the industry, what Apple is doing with virtual reality, or what some of your other favorite companies like Netflix is doing with virtual reality, if you have any insight, please feel free to share with me. And yeah, let's get back to Rebecca.
Hey guys. So yeah, like I said, I'm kind of just waking up here in America, about to have my coffee, but I am a patented inventor, really interested in AI and VR of late, just with everything that's been going on in the world with COVID. Excuse me. So I'm also in the biotech industry. And when you kind of like marry up the biotech slash pandemic and then being a patented inventor along with AI and VR, the world is kind of like our oyster right now. And I apologize for not using a lot of your terms. I'm not like a gamer, nor am I very much into like the software development yet. I work with people that are, and I come up with the concepts. But I think it's there's a lot to be said for obviously whatever the glasses are that you guys wear, like not you guys, but the augmented reality. I think there will be a time that comes where it might be a shift into something a bit more simple, like uh, it's not going to be like a projector, right? But if you look at the walls, the four walls around you, and then you look up, there is a ceiling, right? That's completely bare. Um, and you guys might laugh, but I do believe that there will be something that can be projected on any ceiling, whether you're at the dentist office, you're in like some sort of surgery, or you're just like trying to fall asleep, where you can go into some augmented reality. And it might not be like you're like whatever is going on right now, fighting or doing, living out some fantasy, right? With your goggles on. It's going to be more of, I'm sorry if I'm calling them goggles, maybe they're glasses. It'll be just more of taking your mind and hypnotizing it into a state that you would prefer to be. So whether you're looking at, they have websites right now that can play the soothing music, and you're looking at like spirals, and all of a sudden you're like zoned out. But like I kind of alluded to with like the biotech, the device, medical device background that I have, along with being a patented inventor, um and like the VR stuff, I just, it's not creepy when you wear those things out, but like you can't wear those things outside, and you can't necessarily take them. It'll be more socially acceptable once we get it to be something that more than one person can partake in, and you're not completely blinded to, like I said, I haven't had the coffee yet, but lovely being here, and look forward to the conversation. I'm
Thanks for sharing all those perspectives, Rebecca. Would love to see some of the good biotech implementation of augmented reality or virtual reality. And yeah, your obsession with the glasses, I'm really looking forward to the future where these glasses are mass available and everybody could take advantage of those. So Anurag is here with us as well. Anurag would love to listen to your experiences, and if you want to share something, please go ahead.
Hello, hi. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So my experience is mostly with VR. So like as I right now, like if you see in 2021, what right now is going on with VR is there's a lot of different kinds of experience in terms of if you see look at gaming. So I play a lot of games like when on my weekends, and if you see there are a lot of things that's going on like with if it's with Sony's new VR system or like Oculus Rift, if you look at it, and these things are like going into the next level of what an experience itself should be like. So if you see if you have something like a Oculus Rift, you can actually right now put in a headset and you can get into a virtual reality world, right? You can see a new city, you can see and explore a new world just by standing inside your room. And I think that's really amazing. Like in terms of AR, right now Apple has a really good edge of implementing it in their phones, like for different things. If you look at for maybe going through whenever it comes to looking at like if you're managing wooden stocks and things, like you want to set up a chair or something inside your house, you can just use an app and you just check out AR, like AR apps for furniture, and just set up and just see things what's right now going on, right? And like that's really amazing right now in 2021 what is happening in terms of future. What can happen in the future is I believe like VR is going to create new experiences for us in terms of entertainment, like where we are able to go into different kinds of worlds, like the fantasy worlds that we live in. Maybe someday it would be possible for people to just put on a headset, and rather than just watching an Avengers movie, you would be able to live in that movie. So these are the kinds of things that I feel like is really exciting, even for like if you see for medical treatments and everything. Like VR can be used to train doctors in different sectors, like if you see surgery and all those things. I think like it has a really good opportunity there as well for training people. And as Rebecca mentioned about glasses are also really cool, like what Google and Microsoft, they all are doing with it. Those things are crazy. And I believe, I guess Ray-Ban is also coming up with one of their own glasses, like where you can wear and see things. So yeah, I think it's a really cool tech, like AR and VR. Right now it is a little bit expensive on every side, but I think in the next 5 to 10 years, like everything's going to be really like fantastic, and like we are going to get some new experiences in terms of entertainment or like even education. If you see at it, maybe we could get a completely different kind of experience for that. And this is really exciting, like yeah.
Exactly, these are exciting times, and thanks for mentioning your experiences with Oculus Quest and uh, Sony VR. So, would also love to know, Anurag, from you that how do you manage those sort of nausea and those sort of motion sickness? Because there's a popular opinion about virtual reality that when you play more or spend more time in virtual reality, you feel a lot of nausea, and it is common with a lot of people. It literally was an issue in the beginning. Even I felt, but I think it's more related to design only, and we can find some design solution to come up with that. So you are especially into UI and UX. So would love to know your experiences to into it.
Yes, definitely. So, design is a really important factor when you go for these things. So, most of the times, why this nausea or these headaches happen is because we are only able to feel like something like within 60 to 70 hertz. We are only used to seeing those kinds of things, and something slower than that, creates a slowness in our mind, and like it gives us a really nauseating feeling. If the lenses and the device itself, as they start getting better, these kinds of things will be mitigated. If you see, if you right now in Oculus, there's a version that has like 120 hertz of refresh rate. So those kinds of refresh rates at that time, you won't be impacted as much as you would have been with the 60 hertz one when the Oculus Rift first came out. Even the 90 hertz things are also really stable. If you look at Sony's first version had a 90 hertz, and even that was really stable. Yes, right now for long duration it is a little bit bad, mostly being because like there's a difference when you wear the headset, right? When you wear it, you understand that you're in a different kind of reality, the angles and everything. The If you look at it, the visual perspective, like horizontal, diagonal, all those things really work different in a VR. But as you know, things start getting better, as you know, the as I said, like if we are able to implement an Avengers level of visual, like if you just look at Avengers, any Avenger movie, and if we are able to implement those kinds of visual in VR, at that time, like those feelings will start mitigating. And yes, design wise, even for us, if you see UI UX designers, even we are, very used to doing 2D things, right? If you look at it, in like we are also designing for most of the time with screens, like, but designing in a completely 3D moment is also a really new experience for us. So I think like it will take, we need some new laws and we need some new techniques to understand how we can implement those design better, as well as the tech starts getting better and cheaper. Definitely, like those nauseating feelings and all those will, I believe ki those will go away definitely.
I love the
Amazing.
mention of laws. Like, so they're like ICH GCP guidelines for, like in the medical world, like, because I was actually brainstorming about this yesterday, not when it came to necessarily VR and AR, which um, the previous, I think it's Anurag. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Boy, you sure do know a lot about it, and that was such a nice little like summary and recap, and their guidelines for. I was thinking more about AI yesterday, right, and like how we're going to, as the world progresses, hopefully in a pleasant way. Um, I was in a room the other day and folks were talking about the amount of energy it's going to suck out of the world once we start using AI, and their concern was the energy, which I have an appreciation for all different points of view. But you're right, back to like the regulations with who's going to be handling like the Kaizen aspect of VR AR. And if you guys want to look it up, it's, I think, KEISEN. It's like a Japanese philosophy about business, making sure that like you're doing things for like the right thing for the right reason. When someone has a good idea that's like a moral, ethical thing, like, and it's best for the world, the company, the people, that it's implemented sooner than later. And like you don't have to go through an entire like process to get something that's going to improve everyone's life, that could take years, whereas folks that, things that might not be that in the best interest of the planet, they just do, and don't even go through any approval processes. So I think that's a great mention about the laws on.
I totally agree with that. Rebecca, so yeah, thanks for mentioning this. Next, I guess we have Nitin. Nitin, we're gonna talk to you about your experiences with virtual reality, and yeah, eager to listen to your experiences.
Hi everybody. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. I think couple of year back when I went to Canada, one of my friend, he was basically a developer. Yes, this VR game developer. He generally he creates his own game in 3D. I mean for VR and host it on Steam, if you know, that is the platform which is being used to, host your games. So at that time I experienced that, and basically I'm an entrepreneur and pretty much interested in, doing the same thing in India as well. So I mean, at that time, I have played couple of game which has been developed by him, and the experience was amazing. I mean, it was pretty much intuitive, and I was totally into a game. I mean, the way we play. Initially, we started with the 8-bit game, and then 16-bit, and then afterwards, this Sony and all these different generations of sets comes. But once I played this VR game, the experience was totally different. You are into the, reality. You are feeling so, actually that game was basically a shooting game. So I was in a, it's kind of, I was a police, and the other people, they were like, terrorists. So that was the game, and just to dodge the bullet, you have to, uh, move here and there, and you can give a punches, and also experience was amazing. So I really like that technology. I wanted to, start the same thing over here as well. So yeah, this group, I thought that I'll get something from here as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess you played Super Hot, right? The game you mentioned is Super Hot,
Yes, yes, I
right?
think, I think.
Amazing. So, are you a developer by yourself as well, Nitin?
Yeah, I am a developer. I have my company called Jyotis Technologies. We are into a basically kind of a simple development, normal software layer, but pretty much interested in, VR development as well. So since that time, I that idea came to my mind that someday, I will also, like to work on this as well. So yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
So, would love to know, how do you see? I mean, you have a friend who does game development, and you do some sort of coding, some sort of development. You have a company as well. What are the basic differences you see from the perspective of somebody who codes, from creating entire realities in which you can submerge somebody versus creating a website or something or some sort of product? So, what are the major differences you see there?
Uh, uh, Actually, from the development point of view, I didn't see much challenges. There are a couple of software which is being used, like for the programming itself, they generally use C, C++ library or Python at max, right? Just to create the physics behind it. I mean, if you want to, suppose you are throwing any ball, it should follow the gravitational law and all those stuff. So that libraries are already there. You have to just, use that simple plug and play kind of library. So you just put it in the, in you create a this 3D template of this game, and implement those physics laws into that into that. I mean, as a plugin, you can, implement that thing. So and there are some any pre-built libraries for all 3D. Like if you want to create a building, there is a 3D, already template is there. You want to create a gun, suppose, there is a already gun in the library itself. So these are the things which is already there. It's just a, uh, I mean, you have to think about, what kind of thing you want to build, and for that you should have all the logics and everything in place. Then and only you would be able to do that. But it is not as, complex as people think. So yes.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing the perspectives. Yeah, we'll come back to you. Uh,
Yep.
Next, there is Rohit ji. Rohit, would love to listen to your experiences. I guess we had conversation earlier as well, and would love to continue it.
Hi, Avi. Hi, everyone. Good to see you guys. My experience with VR goes back into 2016. That was the time when I first created an experience in VR. At the time, it was Google Cardboard, if you guys remember, in which you would place a Samsung phone, and the material of the VR goggles would be very light. They wanted to have people get an experience of VR. And that was the time we created this VR experience for our senior leadership. So what happens is that when you go in these big conferences where you are expecting MDPs, senior partners, and all those kind of people coming over, and you want to share your capabilities or your offerings as a design team. So we wanted to do something different, something unique at the time. So we created this presentations while wearing those Google um, that those goggles. By wearing those, you could look from all the way right to left. It's more like a 180-degree experience, not 360. And you would be able to see different slides about what we do, what we offer, um, where our teams are located, what our services are, what is the way of the working model for us, and all those things. So that's what we did. And the way people would click on the interaction, the way interaction would work is that if you focus your or if you just place your gaze towards a particular element, that's when you would be able to click on that element and things like that we explored. But since then, I haven't had an opportunity to work on the VR or the AR experience again. But my view on this is that, see, I frankly don't like the VR experience with these headsets. If you speak of Oculus Rift or even Sony for that matter, these are clunky headsets, and that's where you get the giddiness and everything. So experience is not very smooth, and duration also, as we are talking about that, since if you're speaking it, if you're viewing it for too long, you get the giddiness and all sorts of problems. So I feel that is still not rectified, but I'm sure that this year, this decade is going to be very revolutionary for VR and AR. Every decade we have seen some revolution. If we speak from the early 2000s and then 2011, I'm sure this in this decade we'll see some revolution on the AR and VR stuff. And there are some experiences that I've enjoyed a lot. For example, if you go to Apple's website and if you want to see, if you want to experience the phone, the new phone, for instance, 13 Pro and all that, and they give you this AR experience that you can rotate and rotate the phone and pan it around and all that. That experience is pretty amazing. The quality and everything of the product, it's pretty amazing. And if you speak of healthcare sector or real estate sector, I think there is a huge scope there to get the full advantage of this technology, because we all know how beneficial it could be in those sectors. So yeah, my view on that is that, and I'm very hopeful that the experience is going to be better um, in the years to come. But this decade is going to be very revolutionary. That's my take on it.
So, Rohit ji, you have a great amount of experience with design. So, when you experience these headsets, what is your perspective from the design, and how do you see what we can build around, and how we can make some experiences which are like which exist already in 2D, but you prefer that okay, if this something could also we can do with virtual reality or 3D. What are your picks for such purposes?
I feel that when it comes to the material, when it comes to the headsets that we have in the market today, if we can make them much lighter, or if we can make them less clunkier. So imagine that you are just wearing a specs. Specs is something that people are very used to of, and you cannot get that headache or you cannot get that giddiness from the specs. Like Google tried its Google glasses, it was a failure at the time. But I feel that if they think about relaunching the same product and try and have this VR or AR experience into it, that could be one option. I would really love to have something which is very light in nature. That is one. The second is that I see where we can have more advantage of this technology is when you are like buying online, because most of the people are doing things virtually in these times, right? So there, I think we can seek a lot of advantage. For example, you're on Amazon and you're wearing your specs, and you should be able to see the product that you're interested in from all the angles. In fact, more features around it and things like that. So that's where you can improve the experience with the glasses. But these headsets are not my cup of tea. I'm not very great fan of those. So yeah, that's a big no-no for me. So we can definitely make them lighter, make them more, I would say, seamless in that sense.
Very
From a woman's
interesting.
perspective, I totally agree. And just from, I'm sorry, Avi, I just want to say that it's what is the word? It's daunting, I think, for a lot, if you think of it from like a psychological perspective, for anyone that they would just, when someone has ever asked me previously, do you want to try it? I just like look at it and think, well, everything with the pandemic, like first you've been wearing it and like, no, that's just too much. And then before the pandemic, it was just like, I was like, I'm not going to know what to do once I'm in there. Like I looked at them as if it was a dark hole, right? So if it's something that we want people to look at and not be intimidated by, it might need to be like, you're right, something that's seamless, but then maybe, because I also am a designer regarding like accessories and things of that, but like a two-piece, to, because I know it has to be somewhat blacked out in there, but where you put something on first and then you might fit it with something like another frame that closes out all of the exterior light. My sister, believe it or not, we don't talk much about this, but she is high up at Apple, and she manages the department that chooses the applications that are on the phones in the store. So people are like, when they try the new versions of Apple products, that they're not only intrigued by like the new features based off of the applications that they choose, and then like, I don't know how to explain it, but when the day and time comes where there are these goggles out there, you'll have to think about like a Lens Crafters, or like something where people want to go. Lens Crafters is a store for glasses in America where people can just like walk in and there are hundreds of pairs of glasses that don't have any prescriptions in them, and you just put them on your face, you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, does this look right, does it look wrong? But marrying that concept with Lens Crafters with the concept that my sister manages at Apple, where you have a variety of different apps that, whether you're a man, a woman, or your ethnicity or age, you can press on one, whatever you think you would like, and the people behind the scenes, have something there where regardless of who you are, you're going to enjoy it. I like what Anurag had said earlier about being able to go to any city and like explore it. That's interesting, a very interesting concept. And the thing about what Rohit just said with Amazon, um, being able to actually feel and touch, like visual, like just within your, I guess, third eye, whatever product you could potentially be purchasing. All of these things are just like astronomically cool, and I'm totally intrigued by them. But then I look at Avi's picture and I'm like, whoa, like that is like, I couldn't see myself buying those goggles. It just, because I'm already in a different dimension anyways, but I do believe that if we could just design them to be a little bit more uh, socially acceptable, in a sense that people could be having like incredible experiences.
Even I would like to add a little bit, like as Rohit said, in terms of like the devices being so clunky right now that it hampers the experience. So what happens is, every if you see, every device has a set of generation which it goes through, and it terms that it improves as it goes through, right? If you see at computers, when computers first started out, they were very clunky, right? They were big, they were only used in enterprises. Then slowly, like, even not all enterprises, only the big ones, like, if you're in military grade or you're in the government grade, those kinds of places. Then it came to the enterprises, where all the enterprises started adopting those computers. And then, when Apple came in, they first launched the Apple I the first Mac. And it then revolutionized how a computer can be used in terms of home. Personal computers came to the concept, right? So even I think for VR we need more, because we are just now at the second generation of VR. If you look at it, by the time we reach the third or fourth generation, I think that we will have devices that are really small, and like those, like as Rohit said, like something like a glass, maybe a too far-fetched. I think glasses won't be the way, but I think the devices will get really smaller. I think it will be something like, if you have seen X-Men, like Cyclops glasses, it would be something like that, more of a kind, I think. So that stage, I think it will take like more three or like 1 or 2 generations we reach that, but I think we should, like, if everything goes well.
Yeah, to
Okay.
Anurag's point, I was just giving an example. It could be specs, it could be glasses, it could be lenses that people wear, it could be anything which is already adapted in people's lives, rather than putting something on as a new device and a new technology. And thinking of which, I feel that this if you look at the face shields, for instance, that's one thing we have seen in this pandemic times. That face shield is something which you are like putting on your head. It's very light in nature, in material and all that. So you can imagine something of that sort. It's like totally covering your face, and you can have the entire view, something of that sort. So yeah, which is why I say it's going to be there's going to be a revolution in this year for the AR and VR. I'm looking forward to that.
I can add
Yes,
where the
looking forward to that, and would love to add on the lighter glasses. So there are some really good measures which are coming and which are already came in. So there is a company called Nreal. So if you look for N and then Real, REAL, so that company has a very good and very light headset, which is very handy, and that looks like exactly a glass, nothing more. Similarly, in India as well, Jio Glass is going to come up with a glass which is looks like a normal glass with a computing device which you can connect to it, uh, and that is also very light. It's like just 70 grams. There are a company which is working on contact lenses, and that could be used for projecting some sort of images to your eyes, and it could be used for AR. So this company name is Mojo Vision, and they are doing some amazing work. So I guess all the wishes that I wish that this bulky headset should optimize more, and it's on diet since so long. So the weight is getting reduced so much every year. So yeah, we are really hopeful to see some of the great headsets which will cut down this size in the future, upcoming future.
I mean
I
the
think
reason.
there is one point I want to make, that as we were discussing about this, the experience itself, which sometimes become very giddy, and that the reason behind that is our frequent or very fast eye movement. When you wear these headsets, you're looking around, you're looking up and down. So because of that enormous eye movement, you get that kind of a feeling. You get nauseatic. Some people get, yeah, have that nausea and all those things, all those problems you face because of very fast eye movements. And that's where this cognitive load kicks in. So I think it is to do with, how you can have the same experience without having users to look around too much, or look in all the directions too much. How you can really stabilize or streamline that experience. Being us as designers, we can always think of ideas how you can improve the user experience there, that does not provide these kind of problems people face today.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. I mean, why these headset are bulky? The reason behind is, see, the refresh rate is which is pretty much high for these headsets. Why it is? Because they have to show overall 360 degree overall area, right? So for that, what they have to do so many mathematical calculations to just to upload all these information, and it requires a lot of processing unit, right? For say in terms of people, those who play game, they know the graphic card requires, and it generates a lot of heat, right? So that's why in case of, especially in VR headsets, they are bulky because they requires a lot of processing, and just to cool this headsets, they also require some additional this cooling mechanism. So that's why, if you compare with the augmented reality, the AR is, you can say, because it's a mix of reality and the augmentation in the reality, right? So it requires a lesser graphical processing. So these devices, those who supports AR, are bit a lighter weight compared to what VR has. Yep.
So, like, I would like to just throw in a random question. Like, even AI right now has developed a lot. So, do you guys feel like in the future maybe our phones will get replaced by AR glasses, where we, where we just use the glasses as a phone with the AI included? What do you guys think about that idea?
I'm pretty sure it must be on the roadmap of the companies because I think it is quite evident that is going to be the case because the way cameras are advancing, with the MPs and focal points and things like that. This might be the next thing for them to be able to make the cameras more advanced. Because for how long will you keep improving the quality of the camera? At some point, you will have to bring that evolution to the camera itself. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see this in the next couple of years, 3 years, 4 years from now, some advancement in the technology of camera for sure.
I'd like to reverse that question a little bit based off of the two previous or three previous speakers. So the bulk of the glasses, the way we are right now with the pandemic globally, like let's say right now, we wanted to have this conversation with our goggles on, looking at each other across from like a boardroom table, right? So essentially, I'm, doing my morning routine. I don't know what you guys are doing, but if we had the goggles on and you were able to, if some way, like it's like a Zoom or something, I don't know, but if the phone itself, if you could Bluetooth the goggles, I know you're saying the phone implemented in the goggles, but I'm saying maybe the goggles could become less bulky if you Bluetooth them in to the phone, so that the brain of the goggles was maybe in the phone in your pocket, but within the actual goggles themselves, you were able to project like your face to the people that you're meeting with. And the reason I bring this up, I'm a part of a team internally, that's so funny, no, with like anthropologists and architects that are trying to figure out the future of the workplace and whether it's going to be like a hybrid, and they're using different sort of developed softwares where people can walk on their computer like down to the room, but it like looks like a cartoon and you're obviously a avatar. But yeah, I think the whole premise of it is to feel connected to your colleagues and make sure like the work is getting done. And I myself recently just went back into the office full time, and it's like I thought I would never do it, right? But it's the best thing that could have ever happened for my psyche. I didn't realize how important even just being proximity wise, like 6 feet away from someone, like working on a project and being able to say, hey, and like see the reaction on their face. Like, does this sound right? Like being the director of regulatory for like a clinical research SMO, you can stay in your head or you're able to like interact with people. And I think with VR and the like you guys were saying, the bulk of the glasses is, it might need to be, like I said, Bluetooth or something to another device, which could essentially be your phone. But yeah, there's also the whole concept of getting rid of your phone entirely. But yeah, with that,
I think Apple is already working on it. Maybe within a couple of years, we would be able to see these kind of product. So we are hearing about it quite a lot. Maybe Avi can, because he is a gadget guru kind of guy. So I believe he might have some information on that as well. But what I think within a couple of year, yeah, Apple, I can expect from Apple to release this particular kind of product in the market itself, because I think iPhone, it has, I mean, iPhone has reached to it maximum level. I mean, reach to a threshold where you cannot do anything special in that. So, and I have read it somewhere that Apple have a secret team who are working on these kind of tech. So maybe, yeah, in a future we will see for sure.
Awesome. It's interesting to see that how intuitively you all came up with some of the ideas which are literally the cutting edge of VR technologies right now. Like somehow reducing the size by transferring the amount of processing which is happening on the headset to some remote location, right? To something, some processing unit somewhere ahead. So it is being, yes, it is the way to do it. And brilliant, Rebecca, you came up with this. So the way it is happening right now, there are two chances. One where we are working on cloud computing. Unfortunately, Bluetooth is not the way to do it because Bluetooth cannot transfer that much of data which requires to render those images. So we are using some sort of cloud rendering technologies. There are plenty of these technologies. The way I prefer is a company called HoloSuite. Yes, HoloSuite is building one of these technologies for cloud computing, where you can stream process everything on these clouds and then stream everything back to your headset. And these are the ways to reduce the size of the, because then you don't do have to do the rendering, and then you just have to care about the displays on the headset. So that is one way to reduce the size. Another way which is happening is we are also looking forward that when 5G gonna come up, because 5G can also raise the bandwidth of what we can send and how much data we can send, transfer. And another way which is happening is removing the load from the headset and packing it into a compute unit which you can carry in your pocket or something. Of course, it will be a wired solution. It is being used by in India, Jio Glass, as well as outside. It's being there's a UK company called Nreal, which is doing the same thing. And also, this was first done by there's a company called Leap Motion. Sorry, Magic Leap. They are doing this this processing separate thing since the beginning. So that is one, I guess, which was asked. Another question which was asked was related to that: how do we see the replacement of gadgets with the help of AR glasses? So I keep talking about this subject as well, and it is really interesting because if you look at your room right now, even in my room, I have more than 11 screens right now. I have a BP machine that has a small screen. I have a Mac which has a screen. I have a laptop which has a screen. Then there are two phones. Then there are iPads. So there is plenty of speed. I have an Apple Watch. So all this screen can be submerged into one. We just require one operating system which is capable enough of handling and understanding that which data I require right now and what I'm looking for, and creating a very solving this through a very good UX solutions, and coming up with this sort of operating system which can handle all those devices into one and submerge every data into one. So yeah, a lot of companies are doing and working on such operating system technologies. Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, can I come in?
Sure, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just extend that point. It's so beautiful that you spoke about, that the new operating systems are required, and we are writing one of such operating systems, which can do seamless. But before that, for the knowledge of the audience, I'll just say what is the technical, nuts and bolts of this industry and why things are happening and why things are not happening. So first of all, great, like you said, intuitively people are reaching there that yes, this has to be lighter, and it has to show me seamless, like someone was saying, you feel giddy. The reason you feel giddy is the frames are slower than your own eyes processing power. So once it's slow, then you feel like you don't feel natural, so they have to process the same way like your natural environment is. You don't feel disconnected frames when you're looking around, right? Because your eyes can process and the natural scene is the same. Now you need to get that same amount of speed inside your glasses, so the image has to render really fast. Now that itself is like, rendering like a gaming. When you play a game, you're using really high power graphic cards to do that rendering, so you get a seamless experience on the game. So the technology has come far enough to at least show it on the frames, so that much probably you can put into the glass. And Apple M1 is a cutting edge technology. I have written an article in Indian Express about what is different about Apple M1, why it is so different from all the previous, GPU, CPU, all of that we have seen. It is a revolutionary turn in the computing industry itself. So once these kind of chips come in, they will really change the ball game. But for that, your software also needs to change, your OS needs to change to handle such chips. So it's still following. And now even your programming language needs to change. C++ is what is currently used. They cannot handle multi-core, and they have some segment, there have some issues. So Rust and Go is solving this. So from the technical side, to keep it simple, and first thing is, yes, I need to give huge processing on the small device. So one way, like you said, is move it to a different, at least the generation part of creating the content, move it to a different device. And but the challenge is, how do I send that data which is moving at such high speed, it's rendering so many frames, has to come at the same speed into my glass. So that's where Avi was right, Bluetooth cannot handle so much data coming in. So either Wi-Fi 6 will help a little, 5G bang on. I already have a friend in China who's making a 5G enabled headset, because 5G is both lightweight, Wi-Fi 6 is bulky, the protocol is bulky. So 5G is also can do it at a low power, because you don't want your glasses to have huge batteries. Even if you reduce the others thing, but you still don't want too much battery and you don't want to keep going back charging it. So that's where these are the technical constraints. And smartwatch is where much of the innovations are happening, and whatever is coming into VR is actually coming from the smartwatch, because smartwatch already had this challenge of making a very small device, low footprint. It has all of this, it has this CPU, GPU, everything that you need to pack into one chip in a low nanometer. So smartwatch is going, whatever is getting invented by Apple for smartwatch, they'll slowly move. But now Apple took a very different direction. They're making one revolutionary chip called as M1, which is using ARM technology, of course, and that will solve all this problem, because ARM uses very low power and they have mixed CPU, GPU. So the technology is getting there, it's getting close, but these are the problems. And we are working on AI, and AI is facing the same challenge. How do I AI also needs, like game needs, you need a lot of mathematics to happen continuously to process the output. So you need hardware. So for AI also, a lot of improvement is happening. People are trying to make lower, smaller chips which can do a lot of AI. So the industry is in the same right direction. But yeah, the normal people will have to wait for probably 2 to 4 years maybe. But yes, everyone in the industry is trying, like people like us with the OS, people who are writing the language, people who are designing the chips, everyone is trying to push the limits. But yes, somewhere it will all converge and you will see the benefits.
That is amazing, Likhin. So you talked about several things. I guess you should also be on my podcast. I have a podcast about virtual reality and augmented reality, where I invite speakers from all around the world and to share their work around this subject. So I would love to. I have never invited somebody from the OS background who is working on XROS. So would love to host you someday on the podcast as well. And some interesting thing you mentioned. Yeah, would love to talk more about them in the podcast, as well as you can bring question for him, and we can share some more good knowledge with him. So interesting. If somebody also has, I guess I'm missing a lot of people. The interface I'm using is not showing me all the names. So if somebody has not gone yet, they can unmute and speak.
I think in my PTR order, I see Sunny as the next speaker. If Sunny wants to share his views on this topic.
Yeah, Sunny, please go ahead. I'm actually using a weird interface on PC, so I'm missing a few names here. And I can see in down section, the follower section, Rahul and Nikhil are also there. They are also doing some great work within virtual reality space. So please come up and yeah, let's share some more experiences.
I just want to mention one thing real quickly because I thought it was really interesting when I think it was Avi who said he had like 11 monitors and all of this technology around him. I think that it's funny because I am on the opposite end of the spectrum. I have like, and like I said, my sister's with Apple, but my phone I think is probably it's like extremely small and which says a lot. It's like one of the older versions, and I don't have any monitors, and I just brought my work computer home, my one laptop, in case there was emergency. Actually, I do have a Samsung laptop that's 10 years old and extremely slow, but I think for the whole VR and AR and AI sort of, um, there are minds like mine, and then there are minds like yours where you're completely uh, you guys have the brains and the awareness on how to like connect the wires and do the programming, but when like push comes to shove for like the general public to not be so intimidated by this sort of thing, like you have to have folks that don't have like 12 or 11 monitors like all around them, and I'm just speaking from my own experience because I think this is, especially with everything that's going on in the world, something that could potentially help the morale of everyone if it's done properly and in a way that can be received well by those that are a little bit intimidated by technology programming and too much what appears to be like complicated things. So yeah, with that, I'm complete.
Hey, Avi, thanks for pulling us up. One of the things that Rebecca did mention is about using your smartphone as the brain for the VR and AR headsets. I think I also resonate with that idea so that the headsets are lighter and more power efficient. And the smartphone can also provide not only the processing capability, but also the battery uh, charging, etc. One of the things that I look at the VR and AR space right now, the hardware has got some time to catch up. We have some issues to resolve. There are many more experts here who can talk about the issues. But for me, right now, the approach is more focused on the software side of it so that we can build the right experiences with the current devices in hand and get people used to virtual reality. And then when they have the ability to get on board with the best devices, they will feel right at home. What do you guys think about that?
I love it.
Yeah. So Rahul, thanks for coming up, and yeah, please introduce yourself once more, and everybody here would love to listen to your experiences.
I don't have much experience with VR headsets as such. I just got my Leap Motion controller recently, and I'm telling you that very honestly, I don't find the software that great because it crashes a lot. So I think there's a lot of things to improve in these things. I'm a technologist who's been working in the financial services space, and now I'm going to work on this new startup where we are going to try to create a virtualized world which looks a little bit like Decentraland and Roblox. And what we intend to do is to empower people to come and collaborate with each other, irrespective of where they are from, create assets and monetize them. Yeah, and maybe we will take things a little further with education and redefining education, etc., at a later stage. But yeah, that's what it is for now.
Yeah. So, Nikhil, I have another question to you. I'm also using the Apple M1. I have an iPad which uses that. So, and what is interesting about M1 is meant to be for PCs and laptops, Apple's. So now it's being placed in a iPad. And we were also expecting that this year Apple is going to place the same M1 for an iPhone as well, but they didn't do it. And the reason could be the heat it generates because there is no way to cool down within as compact space as an iPhone. So, what is your opinion about the 2020 headset which Apple has announced? not announced, actually. It's been rumored that in 2020 Apple is gonna come up with this headset. So what do you think? Is it going to be M1? And if it's going to be M1, that what sort of advantage it's gonna have in XR processing?
Okay, so I'll tell you what the M1 is. Just for general people, don't worry, I'm not going to make it very scary. So the whole thing is, yes, Apple will first innovate. There's because no other company has hardware and software together. Samsung is trying to get there, but they are still way behind where Apple's research is. So it has to be Apple, 99%. You don't know. There's always surprises in the startup world. Someone else comes in. I'm not sure about that, but otherwise, Apple looks to be in the right direction. So now, what is M1? Let's understand how computers work. Computers have CPU for general compute, GPU, which is your graphic card. Okay, with AI coming in, they introduced something called as NPU, which is like GPUs also do mathematics faster. NPU does mathematics specifically for AI faster. Okay, and then they put it all together into a chip. That much integration already happened at the phone level itself. In the computer, it's still CPU is different, graphic card is different, but in this, they already put that into a chip. What they then realized is the next bottleneck that I'm facing is, okay, AI also, they put the NPU also onto the chips. That much integration they did. Then they realized, what is my biggest time lag? Where is the problem? The problem is I have to move data all the time continuously from RAM. Compute is happening. I have to take data from RAM, compute, and put back into the RAM. Oh, this is taking time. And the lanes are not fast enough. So NVIDIA has something called as NVLink. So they try to first improve the lane between these two devices. They said, but that's not enough now. We need the RAM inside the chip itself. So that's what M1 does. The first one where everything is built into one chip. Now that much integration happens. Now there is a different problem. You have integrated so much, but you also need the chip size to be small, which means you need lower nanometer technology. Now, Apple does not own a fab, where you make these semiconductors. So they have to go to TCMC. So TCMC has a 3 nanometer plant still coming up in US. They didn't want to send it to Taiwan and China from the past experience. So they said, like, come to US. So now once 3 nanometers, the size has gone down. Now we are at somewhere at 9 nanometer, 10 nanometer chips, 7 nanometer chips. So you have to further make it half the size, put so much into it, and then also make it half size. And for this, the TCMC is already, their production lines are all busy. So Apple, I don't think, will meet the 2020. I mean, obviously it's lost. Even next year, maybe because they're fully working towards it. From their side, I'm very sure they already have designed the chip. It is about going to production and testing it, because TCMC, they need to depend on TCMC. They have invested heavily in that company so they can bring it out fast. But these practical challenges is what is stopping them. Otherwise, I'm very sure Apple is the first one who will come out with it. And also their research is ready, because they know that the next space to dominate is VR and XR. Phones, there is, like someone also already said that, how much more can you go just adding cameras or even adding AI? The limits have reached. You need to now give people a very different experience, and that is in the AR and XR domain. So they will surely want to be there first. But these are
I
the
have one
bottlenecks.
more question, Nikhil. It's a delight to listen to your stream of knowledge. But I have one more question that I'm really curious to know. That Apple is not being known for its graphics. So if you compare to other graphic medium, whenever it's come to PC, Apple is always behind what PC can offer or what external graphic cards can offer. So still, when we are talking about the A15 chip, which Apple announced this year, and it has beaten all the other mobile phones when it comes to the graphic performances. So, what are your expectations from Apple when it comes to rendering these sort of graphics for XR headset, and especially is it going to be the metal, or Apple is going to adopt to something more general?
Okay, the reason you were not seeing it in the consumer space was, one is Nvidia was fully focused only on graphic, and they were cooperating very well with Intel, because when you put that graphic card into your computer, which is mostly Intel x86 architecture, you need those lanes to be very fast. lanes of communication, so this data is exchanged very fast. So Intel and Nvidia were good pals, so they were exchanging, how do we make this board which is very fast. So on the consumer space, it's not that Apple did not have the technology, but they cannot get the partnerships right. But now with ARM, most of the technology is moving out of Intel to ARM. 99% all the smartwatches, phones are all ARM technology. They're not Intel's technology. And Apple already has stakes in ARM, so they have a forever license with ARM, where anything that ARM makes comes to Apple first. Okay, now story change. Nvidia has already tried to. I mean, like, they've already made an offer at ARM, and ARM has already accepted it. So Nvidia is buying ARM, but that doesn't still mean they can move out Apple. So, coming to your question, why it was not happening first? Because of the Intel in the game. That Intel was not letting Apple release graphic cards, or and they did not have that motivation to go into the computer, because Apple MacBooks also moved to Intel CPU, right? And this whole problem. That's why they said, okay, Intel, you're out. I want all my laptops also now going in with ARM. That was one of the bottlenecks why you are not seeing it. It is not a technological liability, it is a partnership liability that they were carrying. Now the second part is, yes, in this VR and this AR XR, they don't have these limitations because that whole technology belongs to them. So I think it should come out really fast once they get the access to chip. I don't know if I missed the second part of the question.
I would like to add a small question to everybody. Like, we are since we are talking about Apple's M1 chip. Like this October, even Google is coming out with its own Tensors processor, right? That is going to launch with its first Pixel phone. So, in terms of AI, if you see, Google is the most advanced company in the world. If you see in terms of AI and software technology, and like since everybody was mentioning, ki software will be a core part of what the experience holds. Do you think that if Google does it well, Google can actually make it happen, like Google can be a big player with Apple as well?
I think Google is ahead in one part of AR, and that is the VPS technology. So, like for local positioning, we use GPS, which is a global positioning system. In augmented reality, you require more than GPS, so we use visual positioning system. And for that, Google has the biggest framework on that, so they can do better. World anchors, and they can excel on that technology where you can put marker anywhere on space, anywhere on global locations, and mark it down. So I guess Google is much ahead, and but I don't think they're gonna exceed suddenly in hardware production as well as software as well, with coming up with this. I think they are much behind companies like Facebook.
I
I had
mean,
a question. The question is that unless the headset improves, AR VR is not going anywhere because the bulky headsets don't work. And the other thing is, Android is much more wider, what do you call, used than Apple. So, I don't know about Apple, but Apple has been talking about a lot of things, but nothing has come forward. But again, with either you have a smart glass, which will help people to, make things easier. The headset is a big problem because nobody can afford a $300 headset all over the world, or $400 headset. So I think the headset is an issue and smart glass is the issue if they can compress that. In terms of the iPhone is not widely used all over the world, So I don't know why everybody's talking about Apple. Apple might have the hardware, software, other things, but I think the world application is way less. If anybody wants to answer that.
Sir, just want to add to that. I mean, if you see, Apple always innovates first, and the rest of the industry they follow the same thing. So the industry, they are right now what they are thinking. I mean, they just want to get the inspiration from the Apple, because they are quite good in producing end user product, right? So the experience Apple has, no one has ever, right? So I think the industry is right now just waiting for the inspiration, and probably in a couple of years we'll see the same thing. So yeah, after that Android will also come to that, I think. And if you see the ecosystem is already in place, though we can say it is not yet at the level in which we experience the things the way we are experiencing our different Android or Apple OS or different apps. But yes, I think things are in place. Android is also doing good in that area as well.
So
Yeah,
I
but
would like to add here, like as Sir said, ki about Apple is not widely used. Actually, it kind of depends where you are at the world. Like if you see in the lower Asian countries like India and Pakistan or Bangladesh, here maybe Apple is not well known. But if you go in China, if you go in South Korea, if you go in Japan, Apple products are very popular there. Even in a world count race, Apple has a good share market hold over like all those products. And right now we are at more of an ecosystem war. If you see within the companies, like since Apple came out with M1, Microsoft is building their own ARM processors, Google is coming out with their own ARM processor this year in October. They're going to launch it with Pixel, it's called the Tensor. So every company is taking a phase where they are going and building their own processes, because it is necessary, right? If you want to build a good ecosystem, good experience, you need to have control over both software and hardware, which Apple had from the beginning. That's where they had the advantage. But in terms of data and information and like what works for people, what doesn't, that's where Apple still lacks a little, because that's where if you see Google and Microsoft have tons of data about that. Microsoft Windows is widely used over people, where you have to make a Microsoft account to get in. Google, you search Google every day, even on your iPhone you have Google. So these things I think are a big key factor in who gets in first. It's not about like making the best tech, it's about the tech that works for people. Whoever does it first will get the first ahead. And yeah, Android can be also a good platform, right? If you see right now, the biggest problem with Android is it has to be developed for a wide range of processors, wide range of RAMs. It has to cover a lot of things. But for Apple, it's only they know what their hardware is, so it's not difficult for them to develop anything for that. So once Google and Google also circles in on that, how we only have one device that runs our Android, and their software development gets easier for it, then definitely they'll also catch up to them, because it's just hardware you just hardware catch up is not that difficult as it is for software, right now in our generation. That's the case that I see. I would like to think what you guys have thoughts about that.
I would like to
uh,
add
uh,
on something that Jeet sir has said. Jeet sir, I would come back to you after this as well. So I guess Jeet sir mentioned that headsets are buggy. Yes, agreed. But he also mentioned that headsets are expensive, which I don't really much agree with, because $300 worth of headset is like literally cheap. If you talk about people are buying $1,000 to $1,200 worth of iPhones, like anything, and there are a lot of phones which cost more than that headset. Even it's much powerful in terms of gaming processor, and comes in much less cost of a console, or if you compare to a gaming computer, gaming laptop, it's a much cheap right now, thanks to the subsidization by Facebook. So I think it's the right time to invest in virtual reality headsets, and it's definitely Facebook's headset is something which we can rely on. It is giving a great amount of support. They have given a great amount of support on the version 1 of first, and now with the version 2 as well. uh, since past 2 years, I can see they start with something like very preliminary, and even that preliminary is much ahead of the competition, and then they raise the bar by their software updates on so much up, like the recent updates where you can build around a pass through. The AR experiences around pass through is like insane. It's something which they didn't promise for, but it's something which is coming along, and we are enjoying it. So, G would love to know some of your experiences. I can see a lot of you have great amount of experience with visual art, and you are such a great educator as well. So, would love to listen to you, and yeah, would love to know more about your work.
Yes, sir. Please.
yeah. The thing, the thing is the spatial computing AI. Uh, the integration of AI with spatial computing and AR VR is going in a new direction altogether. The thing is, you have to look in next 5 years and 10 years. It is very important to understand that Samsung and other companies are not going to sit down and just wait for Apple to take over. Even when I'm trying to teach, like I teach on Mac, I teach on PC, but if I don't have an iPhone, I can't use their AR at all, because even the creation that has to be done has to be done through Apple. So this Apple has a very bad idea of not allowing any other devices to be used. They have a big fight with Adobe, which is Adobe is the big thing in creation, content creation. So Apple and Adobe don't get along. So I think it's kind of very stupid. Sometimes Apple has a stupid idea that if they're coming up with a smart what do you call goggles, which has to be integrated with their smartphone, which is kind of makes things much difficult, because if they just opened it up and said, okay, we have a smart goggle that can be used by both Android and what do you call Android and iPhone, then it would have worked much better and it would be better. But I understand they have the quality issue, they have all these, because I've been a Mac person for last 20 years. So the thing is that other companies like Google has the most data, as somebody mentioned. I totally agree with you. Google has all the AI data, and then Google is not going to wait. So I think the whole chip thing is very important. Is going to come to US, and I think they'll have a better quality chip. But chip is always divided, and the Nvidia, Intel, they're going to come up with their own. You have to understand, in the gaming industry, Unreal is coming up with a lot of stuff that is going to revolutionize the metaverse. So everybody's moving to the metaverse, and if metaverse can get better, then web metaverse, as well as what you call headset. These things are very important things. The reason I mentioned about the headset is, yes, in some places you can buy, the middle class can buy $300-400 headset. But but what I am looking at is that for an industry to succeed, whether you are using AR or VR, in AR especially, you look at China. Everything in China you do is through the phone. China is not dependent on Apple. How Huawei and other Chinese have their own version of what you call the iPhone, and they're doing everything with AR technology in China already. They are into AI, artificial intelligence, in a big way. So China is an example where they have mass use of AR already, or of the smartphone already. So I think the thing is that we'll have to see, and it's good for Apple to give a $1,000 phone, but $1,000 phone cannot be used by everyone. So my question is that the reason Microsoft succeeded so much is because the prices was comparable. Prices was acceptable in relation to when I've been teaching, like I said, Mac. I had to buy Mac for $3,000, where I can buy what do you call a PC for $300. So where would most people go? They'll buy a PC. And do you think the quality of PC and Mac is that different nowadays? No, it is not, because the chips have improved so much. The only difference is that yes, the usability is easier in Mac, and sometimes they have a faster processor. But faster processor is going to change very radically if quantum computing is successful in the desktop level. So I think there are a lot of things that will change radically in next 5 years. And in terms of art creation, it really doesn't matter whether you're using a notebook or an iPad or a Mac or a PC, because I teach at home, I use a PC. At work, I use Mac. So for me, it doesn't make much of a difference. Again, most people don't care about the processor. Most people don't care about the quality. Like look at NFT. Do you think all the artworks in NFTs are good quality? If you really care, most people don't care about all that thing. They care about what do you call, if you're a professional, yes, we do care. If you are going for a big industry, like the gaming industry or the movie industry, then any production is not based on one person. It is based on 500 people working on one project. So I think all these things has to be taken in account. Hope that helps. Thank you for the time. I'm honored. I'm done.
Thanks, Jeet sir. I guess you spoke about the thing I'm most scared about, and that is the Apple ecosystem. And Apple is one more detail. Apple's headset is expected to be a $3,000 headset, which is like $3,500 actually, which is like an insane price to compete. And again, that the ecosystem is scary because it becomes more scary when it also becomes a trend. Like Apple removed a charger, and every headset, every phone right now is not coming up with the charging brick. So this is insane, that how Apple is affecting the other players as well. So next we have, I guess, Shivaji in the PTR order. Shivaji, would love to listen to you and your experiences with VR. I guess Shivaji dropped. Next is Hari Om. So Hari Om ji, would love to listen to you.
Hello, sir. I am only listening you.
Okay, no worries. Shivaji, you are back. You want to say something?
I can add something else. If Shivaji, oh yeah,
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else.
Please, please.
Okay, I think Jaisalin is here, but I'll just make a limited point and then Jaisalin can speak. So there is one more thing that we can look at. I mean, Huawei. Huawei is also trying to disrupt. Uh, Hongmeng OS is actually much powerful than any other OS compared to both Android and iPhone. Apple uses Objective C. Hongmeng is all of these are monolithic kernels. That is the only microkernel OS that is fit for very small devices and multi-core systems. So yeah, Huawei also needs to be watched. But yeah, there is a strong backlash against China right now. So the adoption might be, there are practical problems also for a technology to come. From a pure techie perspective, yeah, Huawei is also a company that should be watched.
And also, there is a very good competitor which is coming against the Quest, and that is from China, which is Pico Neo 3. So, what is your opinion on the headsets manufactured in China? And they have a separate store, they have a separate sort of audience, but still, the quality is quite good, and it is being compared to very good competitor as a Quest as well. So, what is your opinion on headsets coming from China?
So I've lived in Shenzhen for 8 years, so that's where most of these things get done. And I have very close friends in that industry. So actually China has done a lot of work and can take it to the next level. What they're currently lacking is gaming programmers. They're lacking because the game industry is too big. But on the hardware side, on the driver side, and on the OS side, they're all leading. So there will be no problem for them to come out. But currently they're getting blocked out in terms of production of chips. The high end, like this 3 nanometer and all, they're being pushed out of it. They're not getting access to it. They are trying to fight their own battle differently. So these are, but technically, yes, they are there. They have everything that they can do. Maybe they cannot create the experience. Like Facebook will create a better experience because they understand users and people much better. Chinese don't understand the Western world, the mindset so better. So they will not create. On top of this hardware, you still need to give a very attractive experience, which is what gets the user in, right? So they might fail on that, but the headset itself, ideally, that they wanted to partner India a lot because India can give world class gaming services. Like we have those people who can write this kind of games and their mindset is the same as West and at a very low cost. But currently, again, they are also blocked from India, so they have a problem. Otherwise, the headset itself, hardware has no problem. They already reached there, but there are other
I guess
reasons.
when it comes to gaming, the Japan is number one when it comes to creating best graphics and best storytelling, even in games, and best kind of characters. So, what is your opinion? Does China and Japan can go along? However, they are age-old enemies. How do they have a chance connecting on this spectrum?
No, it's actually very hard for them right now because Japanese also see Chinese as a threat. So Japanese Koreans would come into one team and try to do a different game. So it's no more that the Chinese see Japanese as an adversary. They think, okay, we can reach this. They're very happy to cooperate, but the Japanese think that the Chinese will just take over. So a limited amount of cooperation always happens. It's never in black and white. Companies do want to get into business, so that will happen. But from overall, I don't see Huawei getting adopted by Toshiba, and because there is one more component in this, which is with the Japanese, the memory. Your memory, like I said, the speed of your memory also matters, how much, so to improve the whole experience, and that component is with the Japanese. Now in memory, what is going to come is all of these are digital. There is
Uh, you dropped off, Nikhil. Are you listening us? No, I guess he's not here. I guess we can move to Jeslan. Uh, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. If you can unmute yourself and talk about your experiences with VR, would love to listen to you, man. Hari Om ji, if you are back and want to talk about this subject. Okay, no worries. Anybody from the audience can come up and join us in that discussion of introduction to virtual reality and augmented reality and share their experiences about that technology. Uh, Meanwhile, I'm gonna go back to Rebecca and ask her opinion about listening to the conversation of how the strategies between Apple and other ecosystems drop into it. So, what do you think about, Rebecca, about all this? Okay, anybody else want to add into it? It means that I'm dropped off and not everybody else. So let me just check my connection, and it says that I'm good. I'm going to reconnect. Uh, for some reason, maybe my call has dropped. Let me just try to reconnect. Internet speed is good. I'm just trying to reconnect on a Clubhouse. Hello. I'm just going to refresh this a couple of times, and let's see if Clubhouse reconnects now, because I guess I have some connection issues with Clubhouse. Let me just try to reconnect Club Deck. Yeah, it is reconnected back. Let me join the conversation again. I dropped off for some reason.
So I would like to add a question. Like, since we're talking about all the countries and their progress, where does India fit in all of this? Like, anybody has any idea?
I'm sorry I was dropped off for some time, so please continue.
I think Anurag, I think India has a big role to play, because one of the things is that India has a good source connection with Japan. It has a good, yeah, what do you call, graphic, and like what somebody, I think somebody mentioned, storytelling. So I think India can play a big role, and with Microsoft, and with Sony in Japan, Korea. So where China is getting blocked off, I think India can jump in, because India has jumped into the animation and film industry very easily, and they didn't have a problem. They have a lot of software and hardware coders. So I think India can play a big role in terms of the development. And I don't know about India is not into chips, but the software side and what we call content creation, graphic, all these sides, India can easily play a big role, and that's my assessment. Thank you.
I totally agree with the GG. I guess with hardware as well, we have some good companies which are building some amazing products within India. If you look for Ajna, if you look for Jio Glass, there's a company called Question What's Real. Nikhil is in the follower section. Even he is building one headset. So yeah, in India, at the terms of hardware as well, we are doing pretty much decent. But yeah, in software, we gonna blow up with what we can do with virtual reality, and that's why I'm sort of training a lot of students in the domain and inspiring them about coming into the field, because this is something in the next 5-10 years we can build. And according to a PwC report, in next 5 to 10 years, by the year 2030, it's going to be a 1.5 trillion dollar industry. If we could produce some good softwares from here, we could have a great chunk of that.
Right, I second both what Jeet said and Avi said. Very good points. I think if you look at the whole stack, the hardware, then the OS, then the application layer, I think the big guys are all fighting on the lower layers. But finally, the customer cares about his experience, and what he doesn't care what hardware is inside, what OS is inside. He doesn't even bother. All he needs is good experience, great games, and all that. And so if how you are encouraging people to make those content, and India has this global mindset, right? I mean, because we're so exposed to the western side, and also there's a lot of movie culture in India, so people can create fantastic experiences. And it's today every product is selling because of the experience. No one looks at the specs. What experience are you giving me? People are buying experiences. So India has a fantastic, I mean, we should focus on that area of creating experience. And the Japanese need you, the Chinese need you, because the Chinese just don't have this skill. And obviously, America does not have people to do that, even if they have the imagination, which is very good. But they can collaborate with India. So India is at a very good point in that, provided we encourage our people to take this up and skill themselves. Because if the skill is not there, then there's a problem. Yeah. So I kind of agree.
Nikhil, Nikhil, what is the situation? Like what is the actual situation in terms of creativity? Like one of the major problem I see in India in terms of, I totally agree with you about the skill, because people try to take shortcuts, and then the other thing I feel very frustrated about is ho jayega, theek ho jayega, kar lenge. But then when it comes to the real timing and professional presentation and all, India, in a lot of cases, they lack that professionalism in terms of the graphics and content creation. I'm not talking about the IT industry, but I think that kind of skill level and teaching is very much required in India. That how do you make something, how to be creative, how to be present it professional. Living in the West, I see that it is a very vital thing, and if you are not professional, they don't give a shit about it, and they will be fired the next day. But I think that mentality needs to come in, where Indians get very serious about what they're doing in terms of the content creation, in terms of the graphics, in terms of what do you call. The other problem with India is the infrastructure. A lot of places they have very low bandwidth, and people can't really get access. Even in what do you call clubhouse, I see people just going away because of the bandwidth problem. So if India can solve the infrastructure problem, in the network and other things, and high end computer, if they can get access, I think India can really flourish in a lot of ways. But my question is that, is this being actually promoted by the government, or in the educational side? Because I still like, I gave a lecture yesterday in Kolkata about the future of AR, VR, XR, AI, in a conference at MIT University. And then, a lot of people didn't ask a lot of interesting questions. But the thing is that a lot of art world is still sleeping. The art institutions are very kind of still catching up. So anybody can talk about that. And Nikhil, if you have an idea, or Avi, is the government promoting, and this is a big industry that they can tap into, are they aware of it?
Yes, Gigi, thanks for asking this question. And yes, whenever I heard these two terms in a single sentence, like creativity and India, I came to think about Steve Wozniak, who said that Indians are not creative anymore. Recently, Steve Wozniak has started his new company about space junk clearing or something. So I would love to ask him sometime that how many Indians are there in his company now, because as the reputation we have, we are everywhere. So when it comes to government support in education industry specifically, or are they focusing on VR and AR? So I guess in my experience, yes, they are. They are really doing some great job. Government is hosting a session which is about teaching their instructors, teaching their faculty, which is working on these government colleges and teaching students. So they are doing this session by the name of AICTE, All India Council of Technical Education, and they are doing some great sessions all throughout since past last 1 year. And throughout these sessions are happening different part of India. I've been part of three of these sessions where I talked about virtual reality and augmented reality hands-on to professors from all over the colleges of India, 70 to 80 professors at a sitting. So I guess that's how we can influence and reach to larger number of people studying in India about virtual reality and augmented reality. IIT Mumbai, IIT Madras, all these IITs already have announced some sort of virtual reality courses or virtual reality labs. IIT Madras specifically has building an virtual reality corridor for India. So that there as well, one friend of mine is helping in a major way. So yeah, I guess Indian government is specifically focusing on this educational part as well, and yeah, really curious about what we're gonna come up with there.
So I would
Can
just like
share
to
so I can
add,
share my
yeah,
views on. Yep.
Yeah, please
can
go ahead.
I would just like to add in this, since I am working as a designer in India. So what problems most of the times right now with specifically my generation is that people yet don't know about these kinds of tech or these kinds of things that actually exist, right? Because these are so costly and these are so high tech for most of the middle class people in India, they don't even bother knowing about it. People don't know what VR can do right now. I'll find you people like who are 23 and 22 who have the best smartphones in their hand, but still don't have any idea what VR and AR is. So in terms of what Indians can do is like the accessibility to tech and internet, if it gets cheaper, definitely like Indians can like can catch up to all these things. Like once the tech gets actually cheaper and is available readily to everybody to use in India, definitely things will start getting cheaper. As I moved to Bangalore, I got introduced to all this tech, right? Because Bangalore is the tech hub of India. So it's a kind of like that, because most of the people in India really living in rural side of the country, they still don't have access to this tech, so they don't have the knowledge. Even if the government does proceed, like it reaches to them really late. By the time it reaches to them, we are like we are at something else, because tech process is so fast right now, right? So that's the thing I believe ki, like once India catches up to a little bit cheaper tech, definitely we'll also be there with everybody else.
I just want to add one thing. I think I totally agree with Anurag. Is India trying to develop any headset? If a cheaper headset can be done, it would really help. The other thing I would like to, with this group, if you need my help in any way, if I can be of any help to any of you, and if you can connect, I would really appreciate that. So I can come and talk to any conference or anything like that, because I'm an educator and I'm into AR, VR, spatial computing, and I think there's a big future out there. And if I can be of any help, please do DM me or contact me. And the other thing is that my initial question was, can India develop a cheaper headset for the Indian what do you call community? Which I totally agree with Anurag that this is a major problem, that it is very city oriented, and creating experience. I have a lot of ideas which can really change how experiences are created. But the thing is that it is very difficult to work. I've tried to work with some of the people in India, but I don't get commitment. Commitment is a big factor over there. They commit and then they disappear, or they lag off. So my question is that, can India develop a headset? And Nikhil, maybe you can answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Actually, I'll just give a little more experience and with some unpopular opinion in between. I came back to India with the same idea that let me just not expect skills in India. I will go and skill a lot of people. So like the same problem that you're facing with AR, VR infrastructure is there in AI also. You need very advanced hardware and all that. So we provide all that free, so that more and more people get skilled. I don't want to sound like a mesa. It's also because we wanted skills, top level skills. So we go to a lot of IITs and all that, and offer all this courses and both the infrastructure free, so they can learn. Now coming to Jeet sir's question of why are they not committed, I've learned a lot. As I in last 3 years we're trying to educate India, and then I realized where the problems are. I totally agree that elsewhere people are thoroughly professional. They take up something, they do it, and here it does not happen. But seeing it from their side, why are foreign, I mean, like, people are able to do it abroad is they choose something based on their conviction for it. Okay, they feel like I want to go into this field, this is my field. And they also, they don't care about, oh, will I get money out of it or whatever. I love this and I want to do this. And a lot of Indian upper middle class and tier 1 city also behaves like that. I like to do this and I'll continue to do this. But a large section of the population is not like that. A large section of the population is trying to see where is the money. They're trying to settle themselves in their lives, and there is a huge lot of confusion that's confusing them. We might be excited about AR, VR, AI, but all of this looks very futuristic. Where is my job tomorrow? My job, high paying job tomorrow, even for the IIT student, might come in the web and the app industry, which is almost industry that's behind, right? But the high paying jobs also come in the finance industry. So they completely quit tech and go into finance, because you should understand the Indian middle class largely values not doing what you love to do and staying professional about it. What it values is how much money are you making. So they kind of go all over the place looking for where do I find that money. And India is very diverse, so this is not true for all. Like, there are some people who really have their own conviction, they want to go into a certain field, they have identified that early on. And especially I think IIT Madras is a very good institution, some brilliant kids there. So it's all over the place, but largely generalizing it, it's very hard for the student. So there's one way, Jeet said, to solve your problem. You can get this person to commit if you solve his money problem. You might say, no, if he's professional, I'll pay. But you will have to take the leadership role and say, okay, I'll pay first. And I've put this in the escrow, or, I put it here. You have to tempt him with money. He has to feel like, oh, I'm secure. This much money is for sure there, so I don't have to change. And then go to, if you want really good commitment, go to IITs. I'm not saying that others are not good. It's just easier to find those students in one place inside the IITs. Elsewhere, it's spread out. So the effort to find those good ones are a little hard. We are also trying to neutralize that problem by being a platform, but it's kind of hard. So to deal one problem at a time for you, go to the IITs, pay them decent. They're going to do a fantastic job. They'll surprise you by the kind of work they'll do. They'll learn it all and they'll do it for you.
I want to just chime in really quickly. I'm in this room and joined it for a reason. So having been on Clubhouse since April, I have found that like India does have the smartest, most brilliant minds and the kindest, most humble and spiritually connected personalities. With that said, I think the parental aspect of like making your parents proud. I think that what Nikhil was just saying with the money, I think a lot of the employees today, obviously they want to be financially secure, but it ultimately ties back to the brilliance of the culture, which is like, the wanting to make your parents proud and going by the guidelines or the rule book or whatever the culture is. And I heard someone say like that folks in India aren't creative. I must disagree. Like, I think like I'm in here because I know the potential of India in general. And I just think that some people might suppress that part of themselves based off of what the expectation is of, the the adult Indian male or female. And in India, I don't know that much, but I don't think creativity is necessarily looked at in the same kind of perspective as someone who becomes a doctor or an attorney, and that goes back to like the VR and the AR. And you guys are brilliant. You have the tech side, and I know you have the creativity as well. However, there was we outsourced. I think it was a video that it was a 45-minute video that sort of like anthropology / work hybrid thing to India. And what happened, we wanted 45 minutes in like a 3-minute clip that we could post to YouTube. And it came back with like when people were doing their introductions, like balloons like coming down the screen. You have to know your audience, right? This wasn't like some sort of video where it was a corporate video. So what needed to be clean, like you think of like an Apple phone, sleek, we just wanted it truncated and for it to look clean and comprehensible, not like, look at the balloons of these people introducing themselves about a work hybrid. So you guys have what it takes. And like Nihil mentioned, it's about if you're able to make that person believe that they're valued, and that obviously is monetarily, so they can say to their family or even for themselves to be able to provide a roof over their heads for them and their children. I'm able to care for myself. I'm able to care for my family. I think it's just switching the mentality that it's not only the doctors or the attorneys that are worthy of like, attention and money, but it's also those who have a creative mind and the ability to bridge the gaps, knowing that maybe balloons wouldn't be appropriate for something that is more towards like the corporate arena. So I'm good.
I think the thing is that what I was talking about, that I'm not saying that that Indians are not creative. Indians are creative in a lot of ways. In art, they're very, very creative. I think it's the culture of money which overrides the culture of creativity. So I think I agree with what Nikhil was saying, that yes, if you can make them feel comfortable, yeah, they can earn money. But then the pressure comes. Being an Indian origin, the pressure comes that uh, uh, it's funny because some part of my family say, why are you an artist? Why can't you be normal? So it was a very funny thing that I hear from my own siblings saying, so why can't you be normal? Why are you an artist? Then that means that why aren't you a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer and make money? That culture is very devastating in India, and that is where the thing is coming. And this is not only it's not about the poor class or the lower middle class. Even in the upper rich class, this attitude is there. Money is more important than being creative. So I think the thing is that people who are really passionate about doing something and making changes. India is an amazing place where there are a lot of people who have made major changes in the society, and they didn't care about money. There are a lot of philanthropic work and attitude. And I think Nikhil is a good example that he goes back and tries to bring the whole community back and into IT and innovation. So I think that the thing is basically there are a lot of things that needs to be changed in terms of how teaching is done. One of the factor of teaching is that teaching is very British colonial approach to teaching. I'll put in another point very clearly, is that the way the system of teaching is very exam oriented and result oriented rather than creative oriented. So the whole philosophy of teaching in India is very destructive. It still hangs on to the colonial aspect of the British colonial method of teaching. So being creative, one has to go beyond that. A school like Baroda and maybe Shantiniketan and JJ school, they're trying their very hard, or even the government college in Delhi. I don't know how much they are into the creative part, but some of the teachers are still, outdated, and some of these art institutions are still outdated in terms of technology. So the merger of IT with art and creative side is not very, very integrated. There are a lot of IT people who are very innovative, very good in programming, doing a lot of hardware and software things, but the content creation does not merge that easily in India as it does in other countries like in the West or US or Europe. So the whole content creation, artistic creation with IT and the merger of the science and technology, that educational system needs to be changed. I hope I'm not talking too much, but I hope that makes sense. Thank you so much for the time.
So
Can
Makes
I
I would
just
perfect
add to
sense.
creativity? Because, see, I think it's very important for us to understand the definition of creativity. It's all about thinking in the new boxes. When we speak of thinking of outside of the box thinking, right? So it's all about thinking in the new boxes. And financial stability is something which is definitely a main factor why many people don't take risks, because there's a fear of losing something, right? So if we give financial stability to people, and if we try and encourage them to think out of the box, which is like thinking in new boxes, then it requires the acceptance. That acceptance comes from the top leadership. In India, if you speak of the mindset of the people, it's very traditional still. If you speak of many organizations where you have the top grass still thinking very conventionally, still thinking very historically, very traditionally, that also has to change for being able to allow the frontliner people to be able to try something new, to try something which is in new box altogether. So I think it's the main problem is that we are more reactive in nature rather than proactive, and there are reasons for that, and those reasons are very well known. One of those reasons is definitely infrastructure and financial stability and all those things, but it is at the end of the day, the mindset of the people at the top leadership side also, rather than talking about the people who are working on the ground, who may want to be more ambitious or have more conviction, but they are mostly sort of suppressed by the top leadership, which is not very supportive in nature. Which is why the creativity dies there.
So even I would like to add a point. As Jeet sir mentioned, right, ki people like to have more financial stability and all. So what I notice is most of the time what happens to Indians is like if you see people don't prefer designer jobs or like these kinds of like maybe developer jobs over becoming an engineer or a doctor. The reason being it's respect and what they feel ki they will earn in the society out of those jobs. So what happens is when you become an engineer or doctor, Indians have a perception that it will actually give them respect, and it will give them pride in the society that would help them grow as in general. And this concept came in from back when in 1990s when actually engineers and doctors were respected a lot. People still believe that ki a designer or a developer gets paid less than a engineer or a doctor, but it is not true. Today there are designers, today even there are developers who get paid equal or even more than an engineer or a doctor. So these kinds of things happen a lot. And also the other thing that happens a lot is people tend to Indians are a little bit skeptical of doing new things. If you see the West culture or other countries in general, they are very welcoming to new things that whether it's new tech or whether it's new anything it may be. But Indians take time. They like to stick with what they have, and until and unless they feel like it is utterly required to do it, they won't do it. So I think like these kinds of things also play a big role in why Indians are not yet there. It's not like the Indians don't have the conviction. Like you'll find people who have dreams, who have ambitions, but because of what they see around them, they feel like those things are not correct to think. That's the biggest problem that I see most of the times. I would like to think what you guys think.
I think I agree with you, Anurag. It is totally that is the problem. The problem is that here, like I said, I get and daily I get excited about doing something new in my own artwork. I'm doing every day. I'm doing something new, and that excites me. And then when I see my students, coming up with some new ideas, coming up with new design, coming up with new, being very creative. I really feel so good about it because in a teaching job you don't get paid much, but when you see your students succeeding, that is the best thing in the world. But I think the problem with Indian education system and the whole attitude, the cultural attitude, is that the other. I'm very sad to say this. The other thing is that there's a lot of jealousy, and if you succeed, people pull you down. That is one attitude that India has. Coming back to technology, I think it has a lot of scope out there. You have brilliant mind. India has brilliant mind. IT people are doing brilliant things, but the very funny thing is when they come abroad, they do better because they get the atmosphere. When they come abroad, they excel. In US, the top position are Indians in doing in IT industry. So how come when they go back home, they try to do this, and everybody else tries to pull them down? And there are so many what do you call that? Red tape. You try to do anything with the government or anything. There's so many red tape that you can't proceed very easily. So these are some issues that and I think coming back to the topic, AR VR, there are some content creators, like I met a content creator in the clubhouse, and I don't want to mention name, but the in the end, all that person wanted to do was ask me how to help to sell the work. But I'm not a business person. I'm a teacher. I don't want to sell anybody's work. I want to see if you can come up with new ideas or new experiences, as somebody mentioned that experiences. So Rohit and Anurag and Nikhil and Avi and Rebecca, all of you have said a lot of very, very important things, which is that I think that the changes will come, and the changes will come because I think the world is exposed, and out of maybe a thousand student or thousand IT person, one will take up the lead. So I think taking up the lead is very, very important. Leadership is important, and I think discussion like this would really help people who have the right mindset to come here and learn, or have the right mindset. One thing I've learned, that if you are creative, if you are passionate, you are ambitious, and you want to make changes, nobody can stop you. No matter how people try to stop you, nobody can stop you. And that believe in the self and believe in the future is very, very important, and that should be planted as a seed to all the people who are into this field. The creative seed, the innovative seed has to be planted, and I think we have a big role to play over there. Thank you so much.
I'd like to add a
Maybe,
small.
yeah. Yeah. So maybe can I add few questions? Uh,
Please, please.
yeah. So far, whatever I heard from this talk, so this VR AR industry has scope in the gaming and the movie industries, like, right? So I am back basically from the automotive background. So there currently I see a trend is going on towards connected cars and uh, driverless system where these GPUs and image processing technologies. I think it's a little bit towards specific point. I don't know whether that is okay. So basically, I have two things. Like, I like to understand how this in future the VR, AR, and I heard the term XR as well here in this talk. And other than the gaming and movie industries, any scope for particularly, I am interested only on the automotive domain, where we have the infrastructure, we have infotainment units where we typically use the GPUs, CPUs, and this heterogeneous processing things already. So already, I think Qualcomm also into the automotive domain. Yeah, so we are doing some image processing. So any future scope you see, um, this VR, AR, or especially I'm interested in the augmented reality, where I hope the camera things are involved, because we are already using some cameras for autonomous driving. So
Yeah,
so
I
what's
think
the
I can,
scope
I
of
can,
that? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Thanks.
I can add to that. AR is already using product design, where you can go with the camera or your smartphone, and if you have a car, and if it is already embedded, then the whole structure and wiring and everything about your car will show up on your iPad or on your smartphone. So the teaching of AR, VR, and product design, engineering design is already existing in the US, where you can go to a house and you don't need to dig up the whole house to understand where the wiring is. Your AR will automatically tell you where the wiring is when you go to that room. So the whole smart cities and infrastructure is already coming into form in lot of countries like Norway and US and other places, where the architect and the car industry can actually, you have a if you have a Maruti model, the car industry can already have all the information and all the structures and the whole system into AR. They can input the whole what do you call layout into the AR, and if a automotive person goes in with the VR or AR, they can find out exactly where the things are and operate it accordingly, and they can learn how to do it very easily. So the product design and engineering industries are already using AR, VR, whether it is automotive or it is any kind of product that is already getting into AI. Through AI and cloud computing, very soon you'll see that any product can be, analyzed and dissected through AR, VR. If you have a kind of a toaster, you can just go with your smartphone and if the brand is there and it is tagged properly, and cloud computing and AI is there, that toaster inside out will be revealed to you visually through your smartphone or smart goggles or VR set or AR set. So that is already existing, and they're working on.
So ideally, you mean the remote monitoring whenever a car or a vehicle is in motion or something like that. You are saying
I
that.
think
Remote modeling, yeah, there's two different sides to it. You're confusing that self-driven car, which is very different from AR VR. AR VR is more on the visual side. You can input AR VR into the car, and you can drive through a city and go into and understand the nature of the city. But AR VR is very specific to an object or area. AR is specially oriented to an area. So if you go into a city, you can take your smartphone and it will show you the direction, it will show you the content, it will show you the shop, it will show you the advertisement on your phone. So I think the self-driven thing is very different from AR VR that we're talking about. And maybe I might be wrong.
I think Tesla is doing both of that, I guess, in their Model Y and Model S cars. I think both self-driving is already available on Tesla, which is okay-ish right now. And in terms of AR and VR tech, VR is not there, but I think AR tech is available on Tesla, where you can use. They have multiple cameras through which they can find out what's going on around you, and they can project it on a screen. So I think it's already there. It's just that it's not that good, and only Tesla has it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
So
called
I see.
LAR.
Yeah, yeah. So as per the Tesla, I think yeah, in the car they use around four to eight cameras to capture the surrounding picture and do some AI processing to identify the objects around the moving vehicle. So for that purpose, they currently use these cameras. So I like to understand whether these camera infrastructure can be further utilized for the augmented reality kind of applications, because this autonomous currently it's mostly using the image processing and graphic processing for stitching images. So I like to understand how where this AR can fit into. Yeah.
The thing is that if you look at Oculus Quest and you look at HTC Pro, they already have two cameras. Now, when you talk about AR, VR, you're talking about a person. You can't have 48 cameras hanging in a person. So that's a different issue. Can there be a panoramic camera? Can there be other ways of using camera? That is a different issue. But in a car, you can put as many cameras as you want, and that will detect and thing. The thing is that with personalized AR, VR, you're talking about either a headset or a smartphone. And right now, the chips are not there, the cameras are not there to make it so small that you can use more than 2 or 3 cameras in a situation. Does that make sense? Maybe what you can do is in external cameras in a room, you can do a what they used to call cave. Those kind of things are there, where you have multiple camera, you have a panoramic camera, You have what do you call in games? When you look at sports, they have like 20 cameras, and you can see the sports being used. So a lot of sports in US, they use these multiple cameras that projects on the screen, and any shot from anywhere can be seen instantly through those cameras. And that is kind of a special computing. That is kind of a what do you call immersive experience that is there. But for a person to carry so many cameras and doing that kind of thing, I think the technology is still far off. Hope that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. So it's mostly like yeah, personal applications I see more in the VR domain. Yeah. So
I guess,
yeah.
Jasalan, your voice is
The future is not.
way too low. Can you speak a
Sorry.
little louder?
Yeah.
It is not audible here.
Is it okay now?
Yeah, a little better. Yeah,
Okay, okay. So yeah, I think yeah,
much
that's what
better.
I just wanted to understand. Yeah, so I wanted to understand the current yeah, any future trends which could be seen in that automotive domain. So let's yeah, I got some information. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, you ask about latest trend in what? Actually, my network dropped for some reason.
I think
Sorry, I just summarized my viewpoints.
Okay,
Like
okay, okay.
basically,
Sorry.
like yeah.
Okay. I guess next we have Raj Kamal ji just joined. So Raj Kamal ji would love to listen to your experiences about virtual reality and augmented reality.
Okay, hi, good evening, everyone. Just I'm interested in this topic, but my friend Bhaskar is very much interested, and I will give to Mr. Bhaskar.
Hey, hi team. Yeah, I would just like to know about this VR and AR. So just joined as a mute listener. So it was going well. Thanks to the team. I'll be on mute.
Sure.
I think Avi, if you want to say more, your experience and where you are in terms of how AR, VR, and what you're thinking, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I am into virtual reality and sort of in computer graphics since 2012. In 2012, I started as a iOS developer. I used to code for a simple kind of games using a Cocos 2D use sort of engine for iPad and iOS devices. Then I figured out the way to do it in 3D and started working on game engines like Unity and Unreal in 2013. Uh, yeah, it was really cool for the beginning, and you don't even have to know about the complex mathematics going behind that. But that was for very little time. In 2015, I have to get along with the maths because I was building a much complex version of the games I was building. I was working on a AAA game. Now I had no options to dive in more into the mathematics of how actually the rendering happens and how actually the AI works behind these computing systems. And later I worked for a US-based company called Immersive Touch. There, my job was a medical imaging scientist, as I was working on these complex data, which is constructed from MRI and CT scans. My job was to collect the data from PAC servers and then reconstruct it into virtual reality using extremely advanced DVR technologies, direct volume rendering technologies. So yeah, explored and experimented with those. I published a few research papers in those domains. After that, in 2019, I started this community called Extended Reality Developers of India, in short XRDI. And XRDI is a non-profit working for XR education and democratization all over nation. And we have done so far, I guess, more than 10,000 students has gotten benefit from our programs. We do the we do all sort of free sessions to educate students about virtual reality, augmented reality. We represented India at several occasions nationwide and internationally. There's a community called EDVR, Educators of VR, right? There I also represented. Yeah, yeah. I guess I am cutting off, or Rajkamalji, you are cutting off. Can you speak a little louder? Am I audible now? Jeet, am I back?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're audible. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is some sort of a journey what I had past 8 years in virtual reality.
So that is great. I would love to be in touch with you, and maybe talk about your foundation and what you're doing, and if I can be of any help, let me know. I've DM you, so let us be in touch. That is an awesome thing that you're doing. And I think it is very, very important that the students there they get excited about the new area, new field, because one thing is very, very important. We need to know, and we all know, is that everything is becoming visual. Like earlier everything was text, but now everything is visual, and everything is in live. So everything is becoming live in real time and visual. So I think this area has a lot of potential in India and all over the world. So I think the more we come up with new ideas and new ways of doing things, I think that will be really helpful to the world. We really appreciate this clubhouse, and I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi,
I
and
just
I would
agree
definitely would
100%,
invite
Avi.
you someday on my conversation. I have a podcast called XR Podcast. Yeah, Rebecca, please carry on.
I just concur with Jeet. Avi, you're doing a wonderful thing. And to be so open-minded with just different levels of experience and wanting to hear from people who might not have the same background as you speaks volumes. And I think it's conversations like this that hopefully will get India to the place that it deserves to be, and in the sense of, just basic needs. And I don't know, there's something about Clubhouse being able to connect people and concepts that without Clubhouse we would never. I personally would never. I find a lot of value just on a kind of spiritual level being able to be a part of conversations like this. So I appreciate you letting me in the club, and hope to be a part of either the audience or the stage in the future. I'm complete.
That is amazing, Rebecca. Thanks for sharing your perspectives. I guess Harsh has just joined the room on the speaker panel. So, Harsh, would you want to go about virtual reality?
Yes, sir. Like the topic is interesting, and you can open up the room basically so that other
Yeah, we,
audiences
we
will
are just
join. Clubhouse.
sharing our experiences about uh, introduction to virtual reality, and looking forward to know what people think about virtual reality, and those who have some sort of doubts about virtual reality, that how they can begin into it, what sort of ways to begin into it, and how they can collaborate or how they can learn. So yeah, we are treating all those sort of questions.
Mm, okay. So, like, if anyone who's a like who completely wants to start with VR, basically, right? So, what softwares would you recommend? The Unity or like to get started with VR development? Yeah.
I guess both popular opinions are really good. Yeah, Gigi, you can go ahead.
It all depends on what platform you're in. Unity has a lot of good things in it. You can create, if you're creating content creation. Now, content creation, are you creating games? Are you creating metaverse? Or are you making art? So if you're making art, any kind of software like, what do you call, Gravity Sketch and Google Tilt Brush, and then there are many other softwares that are out there for making artwork. If you're making games, then basically you have to depend on Unity and Unreal. While Unreal is going really good with hyper super realistic, and it is easier with Blueprint and all. It's very easy to do without coding. So if you're doing metaverse, or you're doing spatial computing, or you're doing like immersive experience, Unreal or Unity are the two main what you call game engine that is successful, and they already have a VR inclusion in it. So if you open Unity or Unreal, you can directly go to a VR settings, and you can start creating your game, or your it may not be a game, it can be just an immersive environment, and you can start working on it. So these are the two platforms. Avi, do you think that makes sense, or am I, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess that absolutely makes sense. And I was going to say the same thing, that both platforms are really good. And some people find Unity easier, and some people find Unreal easier. It's really, it doesn't matter. The vision what you want to create matters more than the engine or tool you choose to create on. And some people, of course, designers find easy to work on Unreal because it is more closer to how what designing environments look like, and you can use Blueprint as you mentioned. So it makes easy for designer to hop onto Unreal. However, if you want to work on more third-party libraries, if you want to more on APIs and things like that, then Unity gonna give you a little bit of advantage there. So yeah, it totally depends on what kind of simulation you wanna go with.
And also, I want to add, Harsh, that if you want to do augmented reality, you can hold on.
Yeah, thanks for answering my question, Jeet sir. And
Sorry, I got cut off. A phone came in. But if you're going to augmented reality, you can use Unity, or even what do you call Unreal, to do augmented reality and tagging and all. So I hope that makes sense. I think yeah, and I totally agree with Avi, what Avi was saying. So thank you.
Yeah, I have one question to Nikhil again. So, Nikhil, what is your opinion about the Qualcomm's XR2 chip? It is the leading and the most popular when it comes to XR, and all major headsets are basically using that chip. So, and it also comes up with a lot of functions when it comes to handling cameras for computer vision based on all sort of spatial recognition and tracking. So it is already a very packed chip when it comes to features related to XR. So what is your opinion about XR2, and the kind of work you are doing with other chips? How does it relate to XR, and what features you are exactly targeting? I would love to query about these.
I'm so sorry to disappoint you. I have not seen XR2 in detail, but I can look through the data sheets and what is there later, and tell you. But generally, what works is, like I said, uh, what is changing, you know what used to happen on server side, where you had to deal with multi-core systems and asynchronous programming, these two things. So now, even at these small levels, they are not just multi-core, they are multi-core with multifunction. That means you have GPU at different cores, you have a CPU with multi-core, and your compute is spread over all this, and they don't happen synchronously. So I think generally this is what it must be in the same direction. They might have improved the cores a little, put a little higher GPU. I don't know. You can see if if they have come closer to what M1 design is doing, where they have included the RAM also into it. But I've not seen XR. But generally, this is what is happening. But then the programming world is not able to exploit all these advantages. Only Go and Rust can do it at a very small footprint. Uh, because so what generally happens is, the chip guy also gives you the drivers. So the SDK is given with it, and then you build on top of it. So then you have to look through it. How good is the SDK? How many components are already written on the SDK? And I have not seen all this in detail. So I'm so sorry to disappoint on that. Yeah,
No
but
worries.
I'll surely,
But I guess
surely tell
when
you
we're gonna
later,
talk
Avi.
in the podcast, because I'm definitely going for a podcast with you. You have such a great knowledge. You have so much experience. So then we'll definitely discuss the Qualcomm XR2 because that is super essential when it comes to XR headsets.
Sure, sure, I'll do that. Thanks.
Awesome. I guess Arjun has just joined us. So Arjun, would love to listen to your experiences about XR and virtual reality, augmented reality. Okay, he is not audible. Okay, let's continue the conversation. If somebody wants to join from the audience, please raise your hand, and we would love to listen if you have any queries regarding XR.
I have a question for the audience in this stage. What would you say the percentage is globally of women versus men? Like, from what I can tell, it's probably like 97% men and 3% women that are like into the VR AR. And I wanted to know if anyone else, because obviously women, this needs to be for both. And so I'm curious to know from your perspective, what percent is men and what percent is women that use it?
As far as coming from the student perspective, what I see is that uh, you're right. There are more men because they play video games and all. So there are more men. What do you call into VR? As far as I know, AR. If you go to AR is being used in China by everybody. So it depends on the population and where which country you're talking about. In terms of the new generation, I find that a lot of women or students who are female are very much into game and very much interested in making games and producing games for women and themselves. So I think there's a whole generation of young students who are into all this because they're like iPad. I would call them iPad generation or technology generation where they're into TikTok and what do you call it, Instagram. They're into video making. So there are more and more women are getting into it. So I think it's a matter of which what do you call age group you're talking about and which country you're talking about. If I think, as far as I know, Nikhil can validate this. But in China, they have digitized everything. Everything you go there, there's a kiosk. There's you can touch and make things. They're using smartphone all the time. So it's not about male or female. Everybody's using, and they have to use it because it is under kind of a dictatorship. I would say dictatorship in that sense that yes, they control everyone. They see what you're doing. So the whole what do you call visual and technological philosophy and space and culture is China is a good example. Japan was much more advanced, and if you go to Japan, they already did all this long time back. When I remember in 2000, maybe 2 or 3, they were already text messaging and doing everything on phone, and US was still sleeping, at that time. So Japan,
Totally.
sorry, yeah.
I wanted to briefly interject to say the purpose of like my question. And so as I'm listening to everyone and like just the brilliance of the room, I just started thinking about like what do I want to do with my day? Like I had some things lined up before I got on here. I was going to like work out, but then this conversation became far more priority. But if it were up to me, I would go on. I don't have a private jet, but if I did, I'd hop on my private jet, go to a 5-star hotel, go to the spa, get a massage. If we want this to be like truly something that will put someone or something or some country on the map, you have to be able to obviously want to sell it to someone like me. And so for like a program, I think something that I would want to get into would be like if like a spa, like walking into a spa, seeing like a 5-star, like whatever, and then have like sort of, how scents, like the smell are a huge part of it, like something that comes with it, at like Disneyland and in hotels, they do pump like scent into the air to make you know where you are and want to stay and keep paying more. So I don't know if you guys want to work that into your roadmap, but for women, I could see something like a spa experience, or at least this that they could look at and hear, and then the scent with it. And also, I know a lot of people in America, at least, are super into like homes, like the renovation of a house, or then the final actual product, right? So like I personally am not into that, but I know a lot of people that are. um that could also be something that women would be into. But yeah, I think this is pretty cool, just throwing ideas out there. I don't know if any of you guys are interested in doing something like that for the women, but I would totally be into.
I think the problem is that technology is not up to that level. The thing that you're talking about needs sensors and haptic, communication, and the AR VR that doesn't have a haptic connection until now. And
No. But the shooting, like the games, I've never played it. But if you guys are able to like get dizzy in a game where you're shooting each other, certainly someone can walk into a spa. I'm not saying to get a massage. I'm saying just to be in an environment that is different than what they are currently in. So if you're able to play like an army game or be a policeman, I certainly can pretend that I'm in a robe and sitting on a nice couch or looking at a beautiful like candle that's flickering.
that can be easily created. That doesn't need AR VR. That can be simulated through animation, through modeling, through using of images. That is very easily done, and it can be done in a metaverse and a web metaverse or web what do you call VR. So those things will be already there, and there are a lot of already existing. Where you have architectural that shows you a room, and you can go into a spa. It might have a jacuzzi there. So those kind of things already exist, but in a VR environment, it can be easily implanted. But if you're talking about smell and touch and other things, I think Nikhil can tell us more about it. But that level has not yet come in, as far as I know. Maybe Nikhil, you can add to that.
Yeah, I think first of all, I need to compliment her on the imagination, and I also think that's why we need more women CEOs and people coming in. And in China also, it's still more male dominated, but there are women, so I see some stuff like that. But essentially, the world does need women CEOs because they are good at designing experiences and thinking like that. We would surely think of how to design the next better gun or car. So, and beyond that, whatever she's saying is possible in AR. You can bring in people who are actually giving you the real massage. But even anyway, when you're doing the massage, you're lying down and you're not seeing around. But it can be in an AR where you actually feel it's a different world that you're in, and you're probably getting a massage in space. Or again, the male brain is thinking space. You might want a completely different experience. Sorry about that. But yeah, and then some of the smells can come because it's augmented reality, right? At a certain point, when the person is pouring oil, you can always release something in the room which smells like that, and then the whole experience can be taken to a different level. But yeah, you also need this kind of imagination and not just an engineer. So yeah, not everything, like a GTO, right? Not everything is possible today, but parts of it can be really created, and it would be an awesome experience. A lot of people will pay.
They would. I would.
Yeah, I think Nikhil, if you look at immersive movie theater that they have in America now, where your chair moves, and then there's water, they sprinkle water, and the smell that already exists in immersive movie theater. So I think it's an extension where your AR VR is connected to an immersive room where you can get all kinds of things going on, where things can move, things can, what do you call, smell can come in, wind can come in, flame can come in. So all these things can be done in a very different way. But that approach, I think, is yet to be integrated in that way, if I'm right. Thank you.
For the women, what I'm saying is, like, women and men are into different things, but women, whereas maybe I would pay 1,000 USD for a pair of nice boots, I think women, if a company could start maybe brainstorming on how to get women kind of interested in this thing, it could take off much faster with a lot more people sooner than later.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
it's already there in terms of fashion. If you go to fashion, there's a lot of women. Sorry, Avi, you can go ahead, please. It is a fashion industry. A lot of women are already doing this.
Uh, Rebecca, there are a lot of women in XR industry as well. There are literally, I have hosted, I guess, almost somewhere 40% equivalent amount of female guests on my podcast as well. There are plenty of entrepreneurs doing great, women entrepreneurs doing great stuff in VR and AR as well. Starting from there's a company called New Media VR. There is one more company called XRSI, XR Safety Initiative, and there is also the founder is a woman. And there are plenty of examples of such companies. There's a company called Mirror, MIRRAR. There as well, the women entrepreneurs. And a lot of things. Yes, you are really creative about imagining these sort of experiences. And yes, in some sense, they are being worked upon. There's a company called Feel Real, and Feel Real is working on a mask where this mask, on with the help of this mask, you can smell and also taste some of the fragrances and some of the things. So Feel Real is coming up with some sort of cottages where you have all those sort of scents, and you can taste also. They have some sort of flavors as well. I don't know what or how, because I have not tried it, but yeah, they are pretty popular. There is also haptic technology coming along. There's a company called B Haptics doing some great work in haptic technology in India as well. I came along with a company who's doing some amazing stuff in haptics. I'm uh, going to host one of the podcasts with them really soon, I guess, in next October month. So yeah, there are some pretty decent stuff happening. If you want to visit some good kind of graphics and good level of, as you mentioned, like army game or something, there's a game called Onward. You must check out that game. That is something like amazed me, like so real, and you can do a lot of things which are like insane. You can literally play something like Counter Strike in that virtual reality world as well. There's a game called Pavlov VR which does the same thing. So
What
yeah.
about, I have a question. What about something, let's say the chain fell off my bike and I wanted, obviously I could YouTube how to get the chain back on properly, but if it would be kind of cool if I could just put on my goggles and it be able to, guide me through via what it's receiving. Like if the goggles could also receive information and see my like hands going to like for it to like auto correct me, right? Like, not that part of the chain, move to the right, and then like I'm seeing, I don't know, like something like for it to be
I guess
useful
when it
too.
comes to imagination, you are way ahead of us. So yes, these two are real use cases as well. So for a lot of companies are working on these use cases where, let's say, some sort of program, some sort of defect is there in some sort of mechanical of some machinery. So a lot of managers hand over and create these sort of experiences on iPads with the help of AR. They tell them that this particular operation on this particular part is used for this operation. So these sort of things are there which we use. But yes, detecting it by its own, it's a major task of AI and computer vision, which we have to look forward. However, there is one more pretty decent use case where managers and people, let's say people from support, can teach. I was working with a coffee company which had this idea. So they wanted the technicians to, whenever the coffee machine goes down, they don't have to send somebody to fix it, and they can guide someone there through video call annotations. So they wanted to do annotations on top of video call, and those annotations gonna visualize in augmented reality. So that is something we were working on earlier. So yeah, there are pretty amazing and revolutionary ideas.
I love it. And thank you. Like, so it's that kind of stuff and like the AI aspect where even for makeup application for a woman, right? So something I'm working on is like this robot that will apply and craft like the tone of your skin, right? So if it's the summer, women are typically darker, and if it's winter, they're lighter. And instead of having to go to like the drugstore or the makeup counter and having someone choose your shade or you get the wrong shade, there's something that's actually applying it properly to your face based off of what your style is. But I think if implementing the VR along with the AI could be like an interesting segue and make it so humans aren't completely reliant or like on AI down the road. It's just kind of marrying the two. So I think we take it step by step where humans continue to learn. So this is just a great conversation.
I think one has to look into where is AR and VR coming from. It's coming from life. So every aspect of life will be integrated in spatial computing, metaverse, AR, VR. There is no shortage of ideas and innovation, and I think it is a matter of the hardware and the software integrating. One of the major problems in the world is that the integration of hardware and software is kind of very much business oriented, and they're more interested in, okay, I've created, like what Apple is doing. I've created Apple, and you have to use all of my devices and all of my software, but I will not allow other people to use it. So those kind of what you call demarcation creates a lot of problem in growth and development. So I think there's a standardization, which like the global standardization of AR, VR, software, hardware has not yet happened, and I think it has happened in a lot of other cases, like in VCR. It happened in what do you call in hardware computers. It has happened. There's a standardization in format and JPEG and other things, but there's still a lot of demarcation. There's a lot of fight going on between one company and other, that they come up with a device and then it doesn't allow other things to use, which is very stupid. It happened in 3D printing. I remember that if you buy a certain type of 3D printing, and they would not allow you to use any other software. And then when open source came in, I think open source, like broke all the myth. And I think decentralization and open source will allow the same thing to happen and help to develop both the hardware and the software side. I think the integration is very, very important. So I think when it comes to what coming back to the point, everything comes from life and life experience. And Rebecca, you're we appreciate your comment, and the area that you're talking about. A lot of things can happen, but a lot of initiative have to come. And the other main problem is that a lot of people are not educated in this area, or not even interested in it, and it's not even that they're not even aware of this area. 80% of the world population have no idea of what AR, VR, XR, and all these things that we are talking about. So I think that awareness is not there, and I think Avi, when you're doing all this podcast and all, that makes a big change. But I think the younger generation, which I think with the smartphone, and they're always on the smartphone, and they're on in the visual side and the digital side, they're the ones who will make big changes in near future. And then I think if the standardization and open source becomes better, I think a lot of new innovative idea will come up, and women will take part. Other thing is that the whole world has gone into coding, and young generation are coming up with coders. But you need coders, you need creative people, you need artists, you need what do you call innovators. So there are a lot of things that have to come together for it to succeed in the real sense that the real life will be totally integrated in the virtual world. So and that's what I want to say, that there are a lot of steps that yet to follow come through. So I think what is happening is that unless you are really aware and you're connected, like in Clubhouse and other places, you really don't know what is going on in the haptic area, or what is going on in the VR area, what is going on in the AR area, what is the industry, which area they're looking into, what is being developed. And if you're really keen and interested, then you, on your own initiative, you go ahead and learn more about it. So I think that that passion has to be there, that yes, I want to make changes and I want to create something new. That passion has to be planted in all the young generation, and if that happens, amazing things can happen. Anybody else wants to add? I've been talking too much, I'm sorry. Thank you for
You're
the time.
right. You are on point. That's exactly right. And the fact that I landed in this room, I'm just really grateful, because my awareness, nor my, I mean, I am aware that innovation is like imperative, and just being able to come in here and hear all of that information from Jeet, Avi, Nahil, just everyone, is invaluable. So
Amazing. I guess few people joined just now. Uh, Shamista ji, I guess if you have any questions, would love to listen to you. Please go ahead.
Hi,
Yeah, you are
late, so
audible.
I'm not sure that I'm not sure what about everything that's been discussed. I am like, like Jeet was saying, 80% of the world doesn't know about AR, VR. I'm one of those 80%, and I've just started learning in the last year or so, as actually during the pandemic. And my question is really very basic. So, since I do use some gaming, but not AR VR in my classrooms. Just I started out with very simple sort of trying to use like sort of online quizzing for my teaching materials and things like that, and that got me sort of working with some computer science students, and then we started talking about AR VR. But my question is very, very basic, because, and I apologize for that. But when you use headsets, for example, for VR, who does the headset belong to? Is it to the person? Is it to the company that's leasing them out? I mean, or for example, I mean, I'll just give you a real life example. In a nearby school district, there was an experiment working with a local university to try and use VR for education, sort of health education for teens. Um, sort of trying to tell them about the dangers of gaming, of vaping, and but sort of incorporated into sort of a VR game of some kind. But the biggest problem they kept running against was the fact that the teens are pretty hard on these consoles, on these headsets and stuff. And so ultimately then it became a fight between the university and the school district about who was going to pay for all of it. So that was my very basic question, is so who does the headset belong to, or the console belong to in the end?
It belongs to the person who buys it. Consoles are not controlled by the company. If a school system has bought it, it belongs to the school system. So you're actually purchasing a device. It's like purchasing a monitor or a VCR or a what do you call Blu-ray player. Headsets are like that. Headsets are not owned by anybody. Person who pays for it, they own it. So if that makes sense. Now, if a company or a university has paid for it, it belongs to them. It is not, it's not given out to the society unless it's given out by the government to the society free of cost, and then it belongs to the person who is given it to. But in most cases, it is the corporation company that buys it, and the institution that buys it. Avi, if you want to, please add to that.
Yeah, I agree to you, sir. The hardware completely belongs to the company whoever buys it, whoever invest money in it. So but still, there are now we are living in the hybrid zone where it's same with the phone technologies as well as the VR headset, where the hardware, definitely you own the hardware, but the software does not belong to you. You can own an iPhone, but you cannot own iOS. And if the company chooses to, in any moment of time, if the company who create iOS chooses to drop the support for iOS, like I had an iPad which which I bought in, I guess, year 2013, and now that iPad support is dropped by iOS, so I cannot upgrade it to a newer version, and the older version is already made slower by them. So it is meaningless to own the hardware anymore, using that iPad anymore. So yeah, similarly, so the software completely depends on them, and so you don't even own the 100% device by yourself. But yes, if you, technically if you purchase it, if like a school has paid the payment for it, they definitely own the hardware.
So that's interesting because then, I mean, of course, this is sort of many steps ahead, but the experiment, and I just say this because I know somebody who was involved in this little experiment. They had to start thinking about, the nitty gritty of finances, because I think the study was financed through a grant. And since one of the study I mean since the outcome of the study was that they ended up with, like, whatever, 60 or 70 fairly hard, fairly sort of mm, heavily used headsets. And I don't blame them. I mean, they're teenagers, they throw things around, careless and all the rest of it. But they had to then start thinking about how to, factor in those kind of things. And so the school district was basically, saying, like, well, we don't want it, it's yours. And they were like, no, 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 you broke it, you it's yours. So I guess the what it showed is that, we do, in real world use, you do have to take into account all those kind of things about, who's going to take ownership of all of this.
Yeah, I guess it's more a part of asset management, and the rules of asset management applies in managing these sort of hardwares as well. Where if somebody has broken it's his responsibility to pay for it if the damage has been done, and yeah, so we have to come up with correct contracts to handle such situations.
So I think the basic thing is that unless the headset gets cheaper and everybody can buy, it's a different world which will come true. Because I remember my first computer or VCR was basically $3,000, and I remember buying a computer for $3,000, and then after 10 years, it was me, and the same computer was being sold for $500, $700. So I think, and same thing with 3D printing, same thing with any kind of devices. The more massive use it has, the prices come down. And you can see that, when I bought my HTC it was close to $3,000, $4,000. And then when when Facebook came up with Oculus, the price came down to $300 or $400. So in a way, the prices will keep coming down to a certain extent. Like a 3D printer now you can buy for $100 or $200, whereas the 3D printer that I bought was close to $7,000 when I bought it. So I think that it's a matter of time that all these headsets will become very cheap. And the other thing is that a headset is only being manufactured in what do you call China and US and other major countries. But if India can get into a headset and other countries, like Vietnam or even Malaysia or other countries that have tech people and they're a little more advanced, then the headset cost will come down. I think that it's a matter of quality. The problem is with quality also. If you go to HTC, Pro and other things, the quality is very high. If you go to HoloLens, the quality is very high. Oculus, in that sense, was okay. It does the main thing, and most people go for the basic things. unless you're a content creator and you're very acute in understanding what quality is in terms of the visualization. And the masses only care for whether they can play a game or they can have an immersive experiences. So I think if the headsets prices come down, and I think recently, I think India has come up with like $150 or $100 smartphone, which is pretty good. They've been talking about that for a long time, but I think it seems that they've come up with that. So when the prices comes down, then the whole option or problem of who owns the headset will also change. And also there will be diversification in terms of the iOS operating system whether on the headset, because Samsung has its own operating system and then Sony has their own way of doing it. So is what you call Oculus and STC. So all these things will vary in terms of unless they have a standardization. So the prices is a matter of time, and prices that will change radically. And I'm hoping that other countries will start making headsets which are as good as STC or what you call Oculus. Anybody wants to chip on that, and then I would really appreciate that. Thank you. Nikhil can actually answer. Nikhil is our genius. Are you there? Can you all hear?
I guess there is one more Nikhil. Nikhil Sharma is also here. So Nikhil is also working on his headset. I guess all the Nikhil are geniuses here. So Nikhil, I guess can you introduce your headset to everyone?
Sure, Avi. So, hey everyone, I am Nikhil Sharma. I am an entrepreneur, coder, and a designer. So, me and my team are also building a mixed reality XR headset. So, basically, earlier we were just focusing on building a metaverse, which was, like both AR and VR. But soon we realized that there were no headsets or devices which could even support what we were running and even run the software the way we wanted. So now we took a big decision and are also building a headset. Currently, we are prototyping. So, what our biggest USP, I believe, is that we can switch between AR and VR just with a snap of a finger or the blink of an eye. And we have great progress over how the input is going to work. So, hand detection, eye tracking, or generally hand gestures, voice commands, and various other stuff, or even Bluetooth devices. So, we want to make a completely standalone headset which does not require any smartphone, computer, or anything else to run it. Currently, the issues we are facing is majorly in batteries and the optics part, but we can pretty much deal with it and go with partnering up with the manufacturer, and I believe we can launch the beta version by the end of the year. So do you have any questions specific as such?
Nikhil, so as you said, you are struggling with the battery part. So I guess what the trend we have seen with popular headsets like Quest, there are also some sort of, that Quest has this replacement of headgear where you can replace the normal straps and apply a custom strap. So a lot of those head-mounted straps come up with a battery extension on top of them. So, do you think getting an extra extension would also a good idea and selling it as a separate product with your headset?
I mean, definitely it sounds cool as an accessory, but I have some doubts regarding the ergonomics or the wearability, as in, it should not look very different from normal glasses, we believe. Like right now, a VR does look like a bulky toaster on your face, and we kind of want it to blend in with like normal glasses. It's not very much possible, and the thickness and weight would be, higher because we are just limited by the technology of the time. But I believe in a couple of years that can also be adjusted, and there are various battery companies which are working on thinner batteries, like, powered by other chemistries apart from just lithium ion or lithium polymer, like, graphene, etc. So
Harnessing
once,
human energy as well.
yeah, definitely. And like once that part is solved, I mean, the weight and the design of the headset could be greatly reduced. But still, yeah, I believe that an extra strap, as in, even if you just don't include the battery pack or something with it, an extra strap does provide good support if you're using a VR or something. But it's just that it's, doesn't feel very good. Let's say if you're, you know, if you're in your office or at your workspace, it would work. But if you are, let's say, traveling or you're just walking down the street, you wouldn't want to wear something like that. A general consumer wouldn't want to wear a headset as such, when uh, something like that is concerned. Like people in India, I mean, don't even wear helmets while riding a bike. So, people care about what they are wearing a lot. So it's like we are focusing greatly on the design, and we don't have any plans of introducing a strap as of now, but if we cannot get the weight under 100 grams, then we might add it as well. And another thing I've noticed that most companies, say the Magic Leap or many others, they introduced, they wire using wires connected a
Compute
different
unit, yeah.
computational unit or something else. Uh, I am also not very positive on that idea, and I want everything to be on the device because I firmly believe that 5G is evolving, cloud computing is evolving, and gradually we can have everything on the device. And I'm not a fan of wires. I don't like, be it headphones or anything else, I try to stay away from wires as much as possible because wireless is indeed a better experience. It does not hinder with your life, and I don't think that anyone likes wires. And wearing a wired product in, let's say, 2022 or 2023 isn't that cool. So we'll try it. I mean, we'll definitely not have another device, and for
Hello.
those reasons only, we'll not even have a smartphone to link with it. So it's independent, it's free, it's truly immersive in a sense.
Hey Nikhil, I'm just curious. I mean, first of all, kudos to you. You've taken a rare path. So surely we wish you luck and also would like to support. So, what I would like to know, what is your hardware that you're using and what is the software stack? Because that also takes your battery, right?
Yeah, definitely. So, firstly, thanks a lot. In terms of hardware, we started prototyping with general stuff like, the commonly found NVIDIA processors. But for the final product, we are going to use the Qualcomm Snapdragon XR2, most probably. And from the OS side, we are currently using Linux and similar open source stuff. But we are trying to build, kind of our own operating system based on similar technologies so that we can have our own separate ecosystem. And for the AR VR side, okay, like firstly for the Python, I mean AI side, we are using Python, OpenCV, and similar technologies. For the AR VR side, we are mostly using Unreal Engine and also Unity. And yeah, that's basically most of it.
Okay, so that's at least on one part I can improve. If you look at the power consumption of Python versus C++, it is 70x of C++. You know, so if you use Python for your AI, there is a lot of scope there. That takes a lot of energy. So yeah, you can look at that, and obviously, and then you're going on the right route, that customizing the OS, and then making it very small. Like, when we had these challenges initially where we had to pack all of AI, everything. And for just for the technical things, we what we did is we kept our benchmark that there is a $10 hardware. We should be able to fit all of our AI, IoT stack, and the OS under 70 MB into this $10 hardware. I mean, not because it's the price limit, it's just because we want to give ourselves so much little compute but still achieve everything. That's the benchmark that we put for our engineering team, and I'm leading that. So even if you have all that, keep your put your engineering team under constraints and say that operate under these constraints, and that's when you can give a lot more. If you give only 70 MB for yourself, then your users can add things in it and they'll still have a seamless experience. You have left a lot of hardware. So I'll just like to think from, I'm like, let you think from that side. Maybe you have already thought, just telling from my experience what we have done. And yeah, feel free to ask something. If I can help, I'll be more than happy to help.
Yeah, definitely. Firstly, thanks a lot for introducing me to that fact. I was not aware that C++ was that, enhanced than Python. We were using the only reason we started to use Python was because almost every developer in the team is good at Python. I mean, I'll be honest, that's a major reason. And because, we already had many programs regarding face detection, gesture detections, and even a chatbot and voice and stuff already before we even kind of started it. So that's why we just continued on with it. But yeah, I would still like to have a look at C++ and how those things go, because we
So
also have a couple of C++ engineers working on Unreal, so maybe we can pull it off as well. Because yeah, constraints are a very important factor for us to look at. uh, the size of the Python programs we are using is not much, but yeah, I guess the computing power and, as you're saying, the battery, the energy they'll require is probably more. So yeah, we will be looking into it.
so Nikhil,
I,
I'm
I, I have a question.
curious. I'm curious about one thing that you mentioned, that C++ is much faster. I'm aware of it. But when it comes to already existing library, as Nikhil Sharma already said, that there's a good amount of stock already available on Python. There are so many CV related libraries which are handy when it comes to XR and everything. So, is there any C++ library set which you would love to, I mean, which you gonna recommend? Very very interesting. Or we have to write also sort of deep learning code within C++ environment, because that is also a major task of itself.
Right, right. So first of all, Cafe is very good if you want to directly take a library. But generally, what will happen is beyond a point to get you know consumer grade quality. I mean, like a quality that you can roll out in the market. You will have other libraries written by the hardware itself. You cannot just write general Python and expect to launch in the market. So uh, these programs, see, and I mean, what Nikhil is doing is really cutting edge. So he'll have to work from the hardware side also, like what libraries are the hardware guys already giving on the SDK. They will give you some support, they'll give you some conversion tools. So those also you need to be familiar, and most of them are always in C++. Like even instead of OpenCV, Qualcomm has its own small CV. So Qualcomm has its own version of CV. Then so not small CV, Qualcomm has a different name, I don't use it. The small CV is another CV. So there are a lot of different libraries that you need to use when you want to make it production ready, for prototyping. And that's what most of the companies do. I can send you a presentation of Stanford where Facebook and all these guys present, even PyTorch and all. They do their research in Python because so many libraries are available. So if you want to try a new possibility, it's very fast in Python. You can put together, and you don't want to take the overload of writing it all and all. So all the research is done in Python, but when it goes to production, they convert the important parts into C++. This is how it works currently.
That's amazing. I guess you are introducing me to a whole new world of knowledge there. Amazing. So I guess Sonam ji has joined us. Sonam, if you have any questions, or you want to share some of your experiences about VR and AR, we are love to listen them.
Uh, if Sonam is not asking, I had a question for Nikhil, who's developing the headset. Uh, Nikhil, have you heard of NextMind or mind control? Because I don't know how you're going to use what do you call the interactivity in your IPs. So there are a lot of mind control devices that have come up, which NextMind is one where you can actually control the game and everything. You don't need your hand anymore. So you're thinking of mind control in your devices, which would make a drastic change because you don't need any kind of a controller. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, definitely. I have heard about mind control. So basically, it uses EEG, that is electroencephalography, to it's such that when you focus on something, a particular action is taken. And I would still say that it is in not a very developed stage as such. But yeah, I am in talks with Next Mind, and they have also asked for a meet anytime soon. But I'm still not very sure if we can have it in the initial versions of the product, because extra sensors and extra hardware is required just for scanning those signals, and the experience is not that effective as of now. uh, they do provide some developer kits, but it's just that we cannot just focus on everything all at once. And it's not an input method which people are very familiar with as such. So no, maybe not the first version, but definitely in the future we are definitely going to consider EEG as an input option. It's extremely important for us. In fact, I guess Facebook or someone else was planning to use bracelets which had those sensors wherein you just move your fingers and it detects how you moved your finger, and it uses that as an input device. But instead of that, we were just able to pull it off with a camera. We did not even require a lidar sensor for that, even though we have one. So yeah, we just were able to pull off hand detection to action and recognition very easily. Yeah, I mean using Python only. So I mean we will not be, yeah, I'll just say that we will not be using EEG as of now, but in the future, if that technology improves, we are definitely ready to integrate it. I mean, it's an amazing.
So I think, a lot of people have used eye control as well as what do you call hand control. So I think eye control is another thing where you blink or move your eyes and it controls whatever the AR is in whatever input you're getting. So I'm glad that you're progressing so well, in terms of how you're getting the devices to work. And yeah, my mind control is something that is going to come sooner or later, maybe with neural network that Elon Musk is talking about, where you can actually have a device implanted. But those things are in future. But right now, if you all can send me some, if you can send me some link of your prototype, and that would be awesome. I would really love to see it. Thank you so much. If you need my help to, test it out in any way with my students and all, I would love to do that. Thank you, Nikhil. Both.
Sure, thanks a lot, Jeet. I mean, I'll be honest, it's currently in the stealth mode, but let's connect and I'll definitely let you know when we roll out the beta version in the next 3 months, I guess. So, yeah, sure.
That would be awesome because I'm just getting a grant for VR teaching in my 3D design class, in my multimedia class, and in my digital painting classes. So I have a lot of students. I can test it out and see how things work out. And let me know where you're located. And I've already DM you, so if you can send me some information, I'll send you my email ID and other things. Thank you. It was awesome to get to know that a lot of things are happening. Thank you.
Sure, likewise, sir. Thank you.
GG, thanks for mentioning awesome technologies which can be used as input when it comes to XR tech, like OpenBCI you mentioned, where the brain computing interface is being put it into test. That how we can better read the signals from the brain directly into this. And you also mentioned somewhere for weighted rendering, where the idea is to render only that part where the eye is looking at that part into high resolution. That is more related to how human sees in natural setting as well. Our brain only compute the very center, the very focus point of our vision in the high resolution, and rest part is just black and white. So yeah, these are some amazing technologies, and I'm even eager to see that how these come up. So Facebook is doing one project called Project Aria, and there they are making use of these technologies along with some really revolutionary tech which is never heard in XR. So uh, future is really great ahead, and a lot of people are doing such great, insane amount of work in this.
I'm really excited. All this discussion is really exciting. me. I think I can see that the future is not far off. All of you are such amazing, contribution you'll be making in terms of what you're, doing, and the research you're doing, and the technology that is coming up. It has been awesome, and I'm really humbled to learn from all of you. Thank you so much.
Yep. I guess we have discussed a lot for today, and I guess it's a time for a closing statement. So I wish to introduce VR to everyone with this community and with the kind of community we are building on Clubhouse and as well as a YouTube platform and everything, and getting such kind of response from everyone and getting such kind of inputs from everyone, their experiences, their thought process. It's amazing, and it's a kind of revolution itself to see this community evolve in such a greater manner. So would love to listen to your and would love to listen to each one of your closing statements.
I do not have a closing statement as such, but I thought I had one open question to Mr.
Yeah,
Nikhil
please,
Bhaskaran on
please go
the
ahead.
C++ and Python. If it is fine, can I ask that?
Please ask.
Yeah. I just stumbled on this room. It was pretty interesting. But on the C++ and Python thing that you were mentioning, Nikhil, was it what you mentioned was model consumption code or ML model creation code? I was a bit unclear on that. Is it consuming the model on the device where you say that C++ libraries are preferable there? Is it?
Right, even on the inferencing, because even if you're inferencing using Python, what happens? Python is an interpreted language, so you still have to run the interpreter, and then the program runs on top of it. And if you want, you can just send me your email on the back channel. I'll send you the absolute research where all this is done, and I also include the Stanford presentation. Where Facebook and all these people they experience the same challenges at a very high level. What is inside a VR headset is you have to do so much in so little hardware. The same thing happens on Facebook because there are just so many people using their servers. So again, the same level of optimization challenges come there. So there they have presented all the techniques that they use to optimize at that level. How can Facebook do it instantaneously with so many users clogging their servers? So a lot to learn there. If you can back channel give me your email ID, I can send you both these on your email ID, so you can know more.
Yeah, thank you. That will be very helpful. I'll send my details. Thanks. Yeah, that was it. Thank you.
Yeah, Rebecca, you want to go about the closing statement for the room?
Sure. Thanks so much for hosting, Avi, and all of you for being kicking off my day with a huge smile and my neurons firing left and right. And my brain is like an open source, and so there's nothing that I find more pleasurable than like listening and sharing and crafting improvements and figuring out gaps. So if ever you all want like a female's feedback to anything or want to include me in any sort of conversations, um, it would be my absolute pleasure. And I'm complete. Thank you again for hosting this room.
Thanks for such innovative ideas, Rebecca. Nikhil, would love to listen to your closing statements.
Okay, I hope it's me. Yeah. So yeah, wonderful room. I'll surely. I hope you keep hosting it on a regular time so we can come and talk about the future. I'll give in whatever insights I can, and thanks for pushing me to check Qualcomm XR2 and go into the details of it. So yeah, it helps everyone, and the future is really exciting. The way metaverse is coming and all of these things, and it's hard to find some people who are equally excited. So thanks for the room, really, from the bottom of my heart. That's so nice to meet, and all of you guys are like really doing fantastic stuff. Avi, especially you, because awareness and connecting the dots is not something that everyone can do in a very creative way. Most people are working in silos and they're all building, but you're doing a fantastic job of bringing together everyone, giving them a chance. So yeah, a lot of thanks for that. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikhil, and I'm really excited about hosting you on my podcast someday. So next is Arjun. Arjun, if you have any closing thoughts, would love to listen to them. No worries. Next is Nikhil number two, Nikhil Sharma. Would love to listen to your closing statements.
So I would just say that XR is gonna revolutionize our lives for sure. Like how we connect, how we work, learn, earn, play, or do many other things. And I'm really proud of working on it and even discussing it with amazing people like you all. I would also love to connect with anyone personally who is interested in knowing, building with us, or is just curious about what we are doing or can share what they are doing. So that's it from my side, I would say. And yeah, I hope the future opens us much more possibilities to explore and just do what we love. Yep, thank you.
I think what you're building is extremely challenging, Nikhil. Thanks for doing so much effort for that. Uh, GG, you are next. Would love to listen to your closing statements.
Thank you. It has been an awesome experience. I'm glad I came into the room. I've learned a lot, and we are doing an amazing work. Rebecca, Nikhil, and everybody else. Yes, let me make sure I can read. I don't have my glasses. Yachima and Jaydeep, whoever is coming in. It's an amazing, discussion we had today. It's been more than close to an hour or more, but I've learned a lot, and you, as a group, it's been amazing. And thanks, Avi, for hosting it. And really, let's do it more so we can, come together. Please let us know when you do the next hosting, and it would be awesome to get this going in the world of AR, VR, XR. And I think I agree with Nikhil that XR and metaverse and special computing is going to change a lot, and new things are going to come up. Thank you for that time. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. I would love to invite you some of my educational sessions as well. Whenever we're gonna connect to students of India and gonna talk to them about your experiences of XR. Next is Jadeep ji. Jadeep, if you want to add something to the conversation or if you want to provide some closing statement, yeah, we are looking forward to it.
Hey Avi, thanks very much. But I really am a creative person. So I have an understanding about AR and VR, but I don't know anything about it. So that's why I was listening to you guys. And still, I was in the middle. I jumped in the middle of your conversation, so I didn't get what exactly this thing is. And I want to understand this.
Yeah, so the
Hello.
same conversation is also available on the YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel called XRDI. I have live streamed this conversation there as well. So yeah, we have talked already like around 3 hours on today. So yeah, let's close the room. And we enjoyed. This is one of the finest conversation I had on Clubhouse about XR. So
Can you
thanks.
please repeat that name, channel name?
Yeah, channel name is XRDI.
XRDI.
Yeah. So YouTube channel name is
Okay.
XRDI. So everybody can look forward to such conversations on there as well.
Okay.
I
Okay.
live stream frequently there, and there is also a lot of things to learn about XR. I do a lot of workshops there. I do a lot of podcasts there. So yeah, if you want to keep in touch with virtual reality and augmented reality, that is also a very good place. And if you want to recommend it to somebody who wants to do it, please do so. And with this, let's close the room. And I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thanks everyone for joining and staying with us for so long today. And yeah, so we are all exhausted. And let's have a great day, everyone. And it's Sunday, so enjoy on Sunday night. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good day. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone.